like a heart monitor.
Well, it's 8 o'clock. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call our meeting to order. And our first item is the approval of today's agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Warren. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Then we have 6 items on our consent. Any questions on any of those?
No, I think we've got a long agenda as far as the planning and zoning goes today.
We do. Do you wish to move approval?
I approve.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second.
Second by Warren. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Issue forum. We'll start with Paul.
I have only stuff that's going to come up on all of this zoning stuff, on multiple phone calls, so it'll all be addressed to come.
Yeah, soon to come.
That's all I have.
All right, Warren.
Not too much. I told Sam I was really disappointed in this delinquent list type size, and that is ridiculous. And we're paying for the space of 4 pages here, or 2 pages. All of this that we're paying for this white space, as well as the type.
Difficulties
There's
reading.
no reason why that type size couldn't be increased, in my opinion, up to at least 6 point, and that's got to be 4 point or less. I needed my magnifying glass to read some of it. That was my biggest complaint from the weekend.
Okay.
And I'm interested to, like I might have indicated before today's agenda as it deals with planning and zoning, because that's the result of not having the quorum at the previous meeting. And all of that stuff had to be backed up on 2 months worth rather than 1.
Sure.
And don't think there was anything else of any significance here, but my memory is not good enough to. I have Northwest Regional Development today, along with 2 committee meetings in that one. We had Water District meeting. It's all progressing toward getting that, what they call a license or whatever, establishing the district. It's in the court process now. And we'll just see how that one goes. But just keep watching that, because it's a big deal for those people. It's enough out of me.
All right. I just had a couple items. Planning Commission met on Friday, 26th. Fairly lengthy meeting, and you'll see that's reflected in our agenda today. And then Monday, MRC Zoom call, primarily review of legislative issues, and still kind of guess right now until things happen. And some votes, obviously, we're waiting to see the bonding as far as the landfill with the 9 counties, and if there'll be any dollars for the water district. So stay tuned for that. I think that's it. Several meetings this week, but Mr. Holy.
Nothing really pressing. Same topic I spoke about last 2 meetings. Property up along the river, going through the channels to see if any money available, so forth and so on. No real movement there. Application has been started at the Middle River Snake to possibly see if the Red Board can free up any money, and possibly through the One Watershed uh, through the emergency funding, but otherwise not much movement there. 220 North conversations, asked for a meeting, I think it was 2 meetings ago or a meeting ago. Haven't heard anything yet out of the state. Apparently not interested in having a meeting. A lot of phone calls, what's going to happen. I noticed signs are put out and now it's backed up till May 13th or 15th,
Yeah.
whatever.
Coming Monday.
Yep. Supposed to start. I did talk to one of the gentlemen on the county project at the end of 21, and he doubts that they're going to be starting on the 220 project relatively soon. So,
Well, they're projecting or talking about an August completion. I think that's baloney, but
yeah.
I don't think that'll ever happen.
So it's really going to raise Cain on the county roads on 66 and the amount of traffic that's going to be pounded on, well, not only 66, but 17 and 19 also. And
Well, in the past, these contracts or whatever you call them for use of county roads on these detours, they always come to the board for approval. And I haven't seen anything on it yet, but it's,
well, there was a one,
do you remember something?
but it was minimal. It was signage and whatever else, and I think a minimal stipend to offset the wear and tear, which I think I asked the question at that time, well, is it going to be enough? And well, this is our standard agreement. So,
Yeah.
and then you also compound everything. You got the roundabout construction potentially happening at the same time.
Can you object to the amount anyway? If it's a standard agreement, can you object to the amount?
Probably not.
Probably not,
The
but
state, the state can detour and,
Yeah, they have some formula that they use to,
you know,
so.
so all the signage is on the state's
And you can't
deal.
refuse them anyway. No, don't use our
Probably
road.
not. Yep. So it's just going to create a mess in that corridor because there's 220 takes a lot of traffic, a lot, probably more than Highway 2 during certain
yeah,
times of the day.
I mean,
So,
heavier traffic with all of that
yeah,
beat truck.
yep.
this is the part that really gets me is it's our roads. We fund them with our local dollars, but then yet they dictate to us what can and will be done. You will use your roads while we're fixing ours, but yet they won't do anything to it. That's wrong. That's for public record. That's wrong. We need to take care of our own stuff, and maybe we put up roadblocks for there. I'm saying you got to hold up. It's my own opinion.
Well, and I won't be too concerned if the 66 was a straight shot and no stop signs per se,
Exactly.
but there's one, two,
Yeah.
3 stop signs in sequencing at county roads, and then up on 21, there's actually an offset of 66 where people don't stop now, and 21 traffic east and west it's happened to me twice. I've had to get on the binders in the truck. Matter of fact, we drive through that corridor now. You're on defense because you don't know who's going to pull out and run that stop sign, and it could be a car, it could be a truck. You don't know anymore, and it's with the amount of traffic, it's only going to get worse, and people are going to get frustrated and push the stop signs. So just a bunch of calls on that and concern on that, all that's going to happen. So I think that's it. Thank you.
Joan,
So, we had another meeting in Monoman, in regards to with, White Earth Tribe. And, kind of what the word is right now that both bills in regards to the land back for both White Earth and Red Lake are not going to happen this year.
There's a lot of the discussion yesterday's
Yeah, and
concerns.
there's there's talk that the governor has kind of put the hold on it because he's been getting some pushback, and because of it being an election year, that they're being a little more cautious. But there's still a bill in the Senate in regards. This is in tax forfeiture, but it has part of the wording is if there's a parcel that has been forfeited and that even if there's just a minimal, like half an acre that is reservation, that the tribe would get first refusal on it. So if you have a 20-acre piece and say an acre of it was reservation and the tribe has first opportunity for it, they purchase it. So now you have another 19 acres that is going to go into reservation. So there's, concern with that. And so Becker, Monoman, and Clearwater County have went together on a letter that was sent to the committee heads down in St. Paul, just relaying all the concerns that there are in regards to some of these things. And the lawsuit in regards to the water permit currently is on hold because the farmer's attorney is dealing with some issues. So that's kind of right. It's on hold right now, but we're planning and still continuing to meet because we do have another meeting scheduled in May. But we're all kind of on call if something starts happening at the legislature that we need to meet in regards to again. Then last Monday I had Wild Rice Marsh, One Watershed, and just kind of an update on projects that have been done last year, looking at where the finances and costs of projects, and then also we approved the request for funding, the 2025 funding, and that's just a little under $2 million request there. I thought it was interesting, because I asked, like, in the state how many watershed plans there are. And when they're all completed, there'll be 67 plans out there. And there's only like 5 or 6 that are currently not completed. So, it's a lot of watershed plans out there. And then on Friday, we had the bid letting for 202 and 203, so I was online for that. And that comes up on our agenda later today. And like everybody else, I received some calls in regards to agenda items today. So and like Gary said, quite a few meetings coming up the rest of the week and for the rest of the month. So
Remind me, what is their last day?
the 20th.
20th. So that is, wow. Yeah, so we have LRC meeting planned for that day too.
Yeah, and I think they only actually have like 8 or 9 days that they can be on the floor to actually, because they're limited as far as how many floor days they have during their session. And I think like there was only like 8 or 9 days that they can actually be on the floor deciding, voting on things. So that's why a lot of their floor time now is going till midnight or later. So
Okay, and anything else? Anyone else? We're running a little bit early, so I think we'll take a recess now until 8:30.
Okay, I got some business to do.
All right.
Of course not. Oh, really? Yeah. Yearly, I'm fine. That is that our changes over a little bit. Oh yeah. Do we just tweak? Do we just split it? Okay. That might actually be. I just wanted that personal. Yeah, sounds good. Did you have a chance to talk to Lee?
Not yet. I got halfway through that application on my phone. Gets confusing in a hurry. Yeah. I was like, I need to add this to that. Once I got to that part. Right. So.
And then I would just wait for today.
Yep.
You know.
That was kind of.
Is it saved?
Yeah.
Everyone's on it saved.
Yep. Yep. So if everything goes today, then I'll go. I was gonna talk to him. Soon by the office where there's. Walk me through. It's funny dealing with you and Garrett. It's straightforward. A little different with Lee. But gotta do that too.
Suppose you might have to take a deep breath and go.
Don't lollygag. I'm not gonna. You tell me.
Give
go.
us the abbreviated version.
You tell me go and I'm gonna go. Be like that board meeting or the planning commission meeting we had, right, Gary? Well, at the end of it, I was about ready to pass out.
Yeah, that was probably close to a record.
Did you get done by noon?
Oh, no, I went a little over noon.
2.
Yeah,
9
do
to
with
2?
Board of Adjustment, yeah. Started at 9.
We're not gonna have that today. I got things to do.
I got you.
Mhm.
I got 2 hours and I plan to cram it all in 2 hours. So
Mhm.
Well, that's why we have a committee.
You don't have to use the full.
You
2
don't
hours.
have to
Yeah.
use the full 2 hours. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do I have to be here the full 2 hours?
no, you
So-
don't. That's why I had you come early.
Oh. Yeah.
And that.
Then I actually heard about something else that's coming up too, and I'm like, oh, dang
There's lots of things coming up.
it. Oh, yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent. It comes through the door. You gotta deal with it.
Yeah. I did send you an email
I think
on
we
a
can
thank
I
you.
saw that. Thank
Fudge
you
a couple
for
minutes.
sending that. Don
Uh,
has
Is the
an
public
update
hearing?
about
it's
a week ago.
open. I mean, that's what we,
Yeah, yeah, because your
I
mom's
think we can wait 2
funeral
minutes
was, like
in
a week
case
ago
anyone
Saturday, I think it
wants
was.
to be here. That
So,
particular.
I said, yeah, we
And
got
obviously
the
some could
finalization,
be
and then it was a day later. I'm like, well, then it worked
online.
out
yeah,
to be then. So
yeah.
I did my homework, so you don't have to lollygag through when Gary says go.
and I won't.
I have my questions stored.
Yeah. I just have to look at my phone on my texts and look at all the concerns.
I left it in the pickup.
Hmm. Well, I
Stored
had them
questions.
coming in this morning as I was coming here. I'm like, okay, this will be fun.
I'm a little bit lighter. I paid my property taxes and I got my license tabs paid up. $448 for my license tabs.
Yeah, well,
Oh.
I paid my taxes, but I still have one
Is the roof
tab
you're doing
left.
here?
Well, I have 8:30 and Jake is here, so we'll let you begin. It looks like you've got about 8 items today.
8 action items today.
Very good.
First item is a preliminary plat for Woodside Acres addition. This is Isaac Ness. He's the landowner. He's looking at splitting portions of 4 different parcels. Currently, they're agricultural fields into 21 residential lots. Zoning ordinance requirements is obviously we need to do a plat when we're talking about 21 lots. Anything establishing over 4 would need to go through the platting process. All lots that are located in, so there's a couple different districts that we're located in. We're in the agricultural district, we're in the shoreline district, because of how much the property encompasses. It's approximately about 61 acres in property. And it touches a natural environment, Lake Johnson Lake to the north. So we got that shoreland overlay through the north half, I'll say. And then the southern half is in the agricultural district. And so we have a couple of different rules in when we're talking about that. In the ag district, minimum of 1 1/2 acres for a developable lot. In the shoreland district, it's 80,000 square feet for a residential lot. So when we're talking about that, a little under 2 acres for that parcel shoreland overlay. So looking at the plat, all the lots are kind of spec'd out the same. We just carried that 2 acre minimum through throughout the entire plat. Lot configuration, so 125 feet of frontage on an existing road or creating that roadway. So there is a roadway that needs to be created with this. All lots in the ag district meet this requirement. In the shoreline district, it's 200 feet width. So we just carried that through with all the lots within the shoreline district are 200 feet in width and not 125 feet width. Septic soils evaluations have been submitted to gain an idea what kind of septic systems that these lots can support. There is space for 2 subsurface treatment systems, so septic systems located on those lots. That is a zoning ordinance requirement because septic systems have a shelf life. So you have one area, that's why you're seeing multiple different septic areas. And then also there's some building locations that are defined on there too. That's just to give the board and our planning commission an idea where things can get built that meet setbacks. It's not where the building's for sure gonna go, and well's the same. That's not the definitive well location. It's just to show that a well, a sewer, and a building can go on the sites. So that was something that was brought up at the planning commission in great detail. Why are there 2 dwellings on each one of these sites? There are 2 building options. It's not 2 dwellings on each site. They would be allowed to do 1 residential dwelling per site. Proposed plat must have frontage on a public road and access granted. The road access is planned off an existing field approach. And Polk County Highway Department had no problem with them using that existing access approach. And plan to utilize that access point off CASA 42. So, and then if platted lots don't have frontage on a public road, then basically the roadway is a private road, needs a road maintenance agreement with it. The township hasn't weighed in on if they're going to take the road over or not. The road is not built. So the point of today is preliminary approval. There's still a lot of work that Isaac will need to do, road work, stormwater retention ponds, all kinds of things within the plat that have to be done from preliminary to final approval. And that'll be spelled out. If the roadway is private, it still has to be spec'd out just like a township road is. It just has that requirement that there's a road maintenance agreement with each one of those lots. and really that is just for maintenance purposes. They kind of pool in their money to maintain the roadway. If he builds a good road and the township feels comfortable with it, they can take the roadway over right away, but typically they want the development to have building sites within it before they're gonna say, okay, we're gonna take your roadway over and maintain it, because they need that tax base to do so. Polk County 22.273382 states plat cannot be recorded until the road has been built to those specifications, dimensions verified by the road authority. Well, at least work with Woodside Township to verify that the roadway was built to their specifications. The applicant has a contractor lined up that has built roadways for the township before, so. And then Polk County zoning ordinance 22.0400D, platted lots must conform to all official controls adopted by this ordinance. The Planning Commission, Board of Commissioners must not approve plats that are designed so variances from one or more standards in the official controls would be needed for these lots for their intended purpose. Lot areas shall meet the sizing standards within the land use district as defined by the ordinance and shall have adequate room for two standard subsurface sewage treatment systems. Lots that would require use of the holding tanks must not be approved. Lots shall be evaluated for limiting factors, including but not limited to the depth of groundwater or impervious layer, slope, flooding potential, and other limiting factors. So pertinent facts about this, approximately 57 acres of property would be split into 21 proposed parcels. Some of the lots, again, are located in the shoreland district of a natural environment lake. There were lots that this actually went to our planning commission in October of last year. This did stretch a lot further to the south with 8 more residential lots, which were kind of taken away. There was some wetlands down there. Lots were getting pretty tight. So the plat in front of you is the final preliminary. There is obviously CASA 42 is on the east side of this, so it's just north of the Union Lake access, approximately a quarter mile north of there. And so it does have that existing access into it. So if the developer disturbs more than 1 acre property, the developer must secure a SWIP permit from the MPCA. The developer has already initiated that process with Widseth. And if you flip your plat drawing over, there is a map of the rendering of a large stormwater collection area that is parallel with CASA 42's, the ditch on CASA 42. Basically, all the ditching will try to ditch into that stormwater retention area and utilize that as kind of a holding area. All this water actually flows south as it exists right now, flows south and meets up with a culvert about 500 feet to the south of this stormwater retention area, and then eventually discharges into Union Lake. So this plan was developed to control heavy rain flows, spring melts, basically to control the water within the development. This is the preliminary SWIP. It's about an 80-page document about the engineering specs on this. This is just the picture of that parallel ditch that they would be creating. So we know it needs to go through SWIP. There's more than an acre just in the roadway alone. So we knew that was something that needed to be done. The full wetland delineation report was submitted to East Polk SWCD. That was approved late last fall, I think in the November range. They approved that wetland delineation for the preliminary plat. Some of the drainage ways once we get into the western portion of the development, some of the drainage ways, they'll have to do some culverts and things so that those drainage ways can connect up with each other as they exist today. There are some drainage easements on each one of the lots to continue that flow, that natural flow along property lot lines. The developer has included covenant restrictions within the development, special rules that aren't enforced by the county, but the developer will need to carry through with the covenant restrictions. They include that the proposed lots can be used for personal storage or single family residential purposes. There are limitations to minimum square footage for residential homes, which is 1,500 square feet in size, and only 2 accessory buildings located on the proposed lots. No lots shall be further subdivided, and trailers, mobile homes, double wides, or manufactured homes will not be allowed. Modular homes would be allowed if they're constructed to International Residential Building Code. And no residence shall be relocated on any lots. You can't move a house into. No wood burning stoves are permitted, no livestock, and no noxious or offensive activities to neighboring properties, including noxious weeds. Some of the proposed lots have extensive wetlands area, which will need to be properly developed in order to not have wetland impacts. One benefit of these wetland areas is that they do provide a buffer from the runoff entering the surface waters around them. So these wetlands are very intermittent wetlands. They catch water basically in spring and really heavy rain events. And then they continue to flow. Basically from the roadway, it splits it off. Everything west of the roadway is going to flow to wetlands that are located further into National Wildlife, Fish and Wildlife property. And then there's Johnson Lake to the north. And then everything east and some of the roadway heading west there will be directed into CSAH 42's ditch through that stormwater retention area on the east side. All new lots have been drawn in to show the septic systems, possible well location and structures on it. The reason there's multiple buildings is to show that there's adequate room for multiple building options. It's not like one little area that you have to build on. And the developer feels that there's a need for potential building sites for sheds, houses, or housing in the area. All lots must have 2 septic systems. Obviously, again, I say septic systems have shelf life. That's why there's 2 located on the drawing. There's not going to be 2 septics that cover the site right away. It's for when that first one burns out, because they do have a shelf life. Initial soil boring logs indicate standard mound septic systems will be the type of septic systems for most of the development. Sites meet all applicable sizes and widths for the Polk County zoning ordinance for buildable parcels in the shoreline and ag district. Staff have viewed the lots and feel that all the parcels would be developable and would have adequate room for 2 standard septic systems as required by the ordinance. So Stephanie Clam sent us a letter regarding the basically just stating that the Wetland Conservation Act is something that we need to work through with East Polk. There are extensive wetlands on some of the sites on the western portion of the development. And then that all structures are built 3 feet above the highest known water level. That is a rule in our ordinance, so I'm not really concerned about that. And then so the wetland delineation has been approved. Her letter had stated it's still pending. And any impacts will have to go through the WACA process, which is through East Polk. She does have some general guidelines that go through all developments in the area. One of those is the SWIP MPCA permit. The other one is the if you're dewatering in excess of 10,000 gallons per day, this will not. There will be no dewatering. And then the comments are not to address their DNR's lack of support or support for any particular project. Rachel Klein, we had a phone conversation that the wetland notice of decision was completed in October of last year. Rich Sanders, county highway engineer, stated the highway department just highlights that structures along CSAH 42 road right away be at least set back 100 feet from the road right away to prevent blowing snow issues. And he's added there's no issues with the planned or existing access off CSAH 42. Jill and Bruce Kruger and Louis Bagley had sent us a letter. They're Union Lake property owners. They have concerns about the environmentalist and lake property owners' perspective. There are great concerns about the other development in Union Lake. The proposed addition of 28 additional residential homes will directly affect the entire Union Lake, not just properties within 500 feet. Where will the properties have lake access? Will there be additional boat slips and how many? And safety concerns are congestion in narrow and shallow channels, dangerous close calls of boats too fast, limited room for towing, skiers, tubers, all-day parties offshore in front of docks, shorelines, limited or no access for property owners to leave or access their docks, drinking, loud noise, profanity, in close proximities to family and young children. Environmental concerns are wake boats churning up shorelines, degrading water quality, lost and nesting habitat for loons, loss of shoreline pollution, filtering plants, invasive species, and increased likelihood of transport of additional boat traffic and access. Steve Ekman, Union Lake landowner, stated via letter that considering the application to develop parcels of shoreline property at Union Lake to include multiple tiers, I understand there are property owners at Union Lake opposed to this development for environmental or socioeconomic factors. I'm ready to express my concern that allowing second tier development in general at Union Lake could spell disaster for the lake. I have been a property owner on Union Lake for many years, and although I am not a neighboring property owner to this development, I feel that the zoning board is at a crossroads. The decision you make can set a new precedence for all of us. There have been no second tier developments at Union Lake. In fact, when the backlots in Grandview subdivision were sold several years ago, there were deed restrictions for construction of sewer systems and storage buildings only. This seems reasonable restriction, and it has come to be relied upon from property owners at the lake. Union Lake is small and cannot handle the stress of multiple tier development. Recent campground development and expansion project has a noticeable impact on the lake. I believe that restricting the development to first tier developments within the current zoning regulations is fair and promotes the safe use of the lake by property owners and visiting public. If you allow this development, you will not be able to legally deny future developers. We all know that there are many acres around Union Lake that could be developed in the same manner. Some of these open spaces are even better suited for development. I fear that you are approaching a slippery slope, and I urge you to deny the petition as it pertains to backlots at Union Lake. Barb Seeger, Union Lake landowner, called and stated they are opposed to the development due to the issues they can foresee with security and policing in the area for trespassing and crimes that can result from residents within the development. As there are many seasonal places along Union Lake, there has been a history of crime in the immediate area. The boat access is also a concern due to the volume of boats going in and out during the busy summer months. With 20 or more boats in the area, that the boat access will be overwhelmed, leading to people parking on the roadways and adjacent property like theirs. There is no governmental unit taking care of policing in the area, and the Polk County Sheriff's Office does not do a routine route down CASA 42. Mark Keller, Union Lake landowner. Thanks for sending the information. However, I did not receive my information via U.S. mail or any other means prior to this email. Considering we are property owners of multiple parcels of land within 1/4 mile of the proposed replat of parcels, away from reading them, Polk County zoning ordinance revised 6/1/21. We should have been notified U.S. mail 2 days prior to the meeting. Is not significant time to review the attached notice. Additionally, we were denied our rights to join the meeting via Zoom or conference call, considering this should be common practice and certainly was available to us in 2017. It is not clear why that would not be offered at this time. We have questions. One, why does there appear to be 2 single-family developments and duplicate wells, sewers on the attached drawings and proposed parcels? What consideration has been given to the potential impact of the community aquifer already relied upon by existing homes? We spend significant amount of money on a specialized filtration system due to high levels of arsenic in our well. Will a relevant study be done or any impact revealed to the potential developers? What considerations and review have been done to look at sediment impacts of water flowing over the altered landscape? Is this carried toward the lake and waterfowl production area during such a large development? Why does the attached document refer to if used in the residential purposes in section 3? I did not see a mention of proposed replat for businesses. Please clarify. Can we get some clarification on the shoreline impacts and which parcels will be identified as being impacted by the shoreline district? Given an equitable amount of time to review this, I'm sure we have more identified additional questions. With growth, there is potential conflicts. Please advise how this meeting can be attended remotely. And Christy Morris Lease, neighboring property owner, contacted our office via email stating that they are not in favor of the development, certainly for property value impacts. However, they are looking at more of a big picture of the entire benefit to the lake and do not see one. As far as they are concerned, they do not want Union Lake to turn into Maple Lake, which could certainly happen. they do not begrudge progress or improvements if they truly improve the area, and would take a lot of convincing to see how this would improve the aesthetics or overall function of the lake. So, and at the public meeting, there was much discussion about lake use, boat slips, all those types of things. The developer doesn't own any property on Union Lake. There is no plan to offer any type of common access lot or any type of access onto Union Lake. They would need to use the boat access just like everybody else can. Their public boat launches and landings, they can be used by the public. So the other thing is that the remote things, I did talk to Greg Widseth, county attorney, regarding if we need to open our meetings up to Zoom or conference calls and anything. That was something we did during COVID because that was the only way we could have our meetings. Due to open meeting laws, they haven't amended any open meeting laws that say counties need to do remote or have remote. We did comply with them in 2017. They were actually pulling a permit. They live in Alaska, so we allowed them to attend our meeting via Zoom. But we did not. I got a day's notice to do it, and it was just an open meeting like we have at all our planning commission meetings. So I guess I'll go through the pictures before I go through the staff report here. These are the chunks of land, so encompassing 57 acres. This obviously is more than 57 acres with all these 4 parcels, but it is using an existing access right here, coming around these wetland areas, and then cutting to the west and coming back over here. Public access is located right here. This is the picture right in front of you. Printed it so you had it. Looking back into the development, it's currently it was a soybean field, yes, last year. Farm field. And just looking from the roadway to the west. Looking to the north along SAW 42 is off to the right here. And then I'm looking back. This is, you can faintly see Union Lake back here. And this is the current ditch of SAW 42. That is the existing approach access. And this is where that culvert leads under SAW 42. And then this is that small drainage way that heads and kind of meanders to Union Lake. Again, this is that large retention area that would actually be parallel. It does not connect up to SAW 42 here. It's actually, there will be land in between them, so it'll be like double ditched. And then there's actually more like your field drainage would be a pump to get it into the ditch itself. A control structure, I guess, is what they have it on the drawing. And then this is ditching that we're trying to get to go to that.
Previous picture. So that shaded area, that'll be actual hump in the ground, non-buildable, correct?
This is not a buildable area at all. That'll actually be a ditch. It'll look like a ditch. You know, like if you look out at Crookston Valley Co-op, you know, they have a large area that they made stormwater retention. This one just stretches parallel with the ditch. The raised area I was talking about is from the existing ditch to this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not connecting to the ditch. It's not like we're taking that out and connecting it to the ditch.
From this low area or a ditch assembly, is there a required easement of setback?
Yep, that's within that 100-foot setback of the road right of way, and it's an easement for the retention of water within the plat. It's on the plat as with all within that the setback area. So you couldn't build there anyway. So that's the use of that. Basically, it's 100.
So the darkened area is a ditch itself.
Yeah, it's basically just a graded ditch. It's not rock. It's actual grasses.
It'll
So
be a
that-
grass ditch.
Yep.
That 100 foot comes to that lower radius then, correct?
Yep.
So is there, from that 100-foot line, is there an additional easement or requirement to stay away from that?
No, because it's all within that 100 feet. There's a buffer off there for a building. You know, a building has to be 100 feet away from the right of way, but that's not encompassing the entire. It won't be 100 feet wide. You know, it's within that 100 feet.
I think
So this isn't 100 feet. That shaded area isn't 100 feet in width. So there is adequate buffer between the where you're actually putting structures and that drainage ditch.
So you're allowing the ditch to be within the 100 feet, the new ditch, the new home within the 100 feet.
Yeah, because it's the setback. You
Yeah.
couldn't build a structure.
I
You
get
couldn't have a septic or anything within that area,
so. There's approximately 10 or 15 feet of flat land
at least.
that's within that 100-foot. Okay,
All right.
thank
It's
you.
just you buy that lot, you can't then go fill it because it's a part of the plat.
I got
It's a part of the drainage of it, and so
it. And the holding.
yep,
Got it.
yeah, that's entirely within this area right here,
I get it.
and that's the building setback that was indicated on the plat.
Even if that new ditch wasn't put in, you still couldn't build in that spot, is what.
Correct.
Correct.
Is what you're asking.
It would all be
That's
graded to
your
that ditch
that's
anyway,
your reservoir for water retainment. I get it.
because water's going to flow different off
Right.
buildings and lots like that than it is off a field. You know, you'll have a lot more impervious by development than you do the farm field
Where's
that
that
takes
ditch
up.
then? That's gonna be ditched south underneath the road.
That is actually right here.
I get it.
Yep. So this is the existing access approach, and
A
it's
culvert underneath his driveway. That's
yeah. There's there'll be a culvert here, and then that drainage that goes to Union Lake and as always is right here.
Yep. Okay.
So with that, the planning commission and staff recommended approval due to the fact the landowner and developer has satisfied Polk County zoning ordinance for platted subdivision, plans to have covenants to address neighboring landowner concerns regarding local property values and address the stormwater retention within the subdivision. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat for Woodside Acres with the following conditions. Language shall be added to the final plat to restricts impacts grading or filling within wetland areas and indicated within the plat. Also, language must be included on the final plat map that outlot A is unbuildable and is intended for access adjoining properties. I guess I'll show you what outlot A is. Outlot A is a field access. It is that sliver that nothing is drawn in.
Yeah.
There's a field actually on the opposite side of the wetland areas that the farmer wants to continue to access.
I see.
I'll kind of show you on that. The notice map is probably the best one to show you. See, there's tillable acreage on the this side here, and so to get back in there, you need to have that outlot A. So the recommendation would be to slap it right on the plat that outlot A is not buildable. Nobody can buy it from them and build on it. So
Oh, that's yours then.
he would retain that
That's gonna be yours.
for access purposes.
Gonna be hard to get machinery down that road.
It's an existing
There's
kind
a
of Texas
crossing.
crossing in there.
Yep.
Oh, I
The covenant restrictions or association agreement included for the plat must be reviewed by the county before approval of the final plat. These covenant restrictions and or association agreements must be recorded with the final plat. Access to the proposed platted lots must be granted by the road authority. This is Polk County Highway Department. Roadways must be constructed to township specification and approved by the road authority, which would be the township. If platted lots shall have less or not have frontage on a public road, a private road must be constructed to meet township specification and served by a road agreement recorded with the deed of each lot with the frontage on the private road. Final plat cannot be recorded until the road has been built to those specification dimensions and verified by the appropriate road authority. No building permit shall be issued within the proposed plat until final plat approval. as well as no property within the platted area shall be sold before the final plat is recorded. The developer must secure a SWIP permit from the MPCA, which is required for any project that disturbs 1 acre property. And within 6 months of preliminary plat approval, the developer shall submit a final plat. Plat shall contain only portions of the approved preliminary plat which is proposed to record. Failure to meet this provision shall void the preliminary plat. And I'll just do side note is planning commission recommended preliminary and final approval, as long as no substantial changes were made to the layout of the development. The county board can't do that. We do preliminary and we always have to do the final. So just a side note, there won't be another planning commission meeting on this matter. Preliminary and final approval.
What, being you said that, what is the requirement then? Today it's preliminary. What's the timeline for, well, after the
Within 6
conditions?
months,
Within 6 months,
the roadways get constructed, the SWIP permits satisfied, and
the conditions of the conditions be met.
are
so forth.
satisfied, and that's within a 6 month.
And if that is completed, we don't need to vote again.
No, it'll come back before the
Or it'll
board.
come back
Yep,
to us.
Yep, it has to. The zoning ordinance allows the planning commission to waive final review
I
as
see.
long as there's not
You got it.
significant changes.
I get it.
The county board always acts as preliminary and then
Alright.
the final, so. But we obviously wanna have our process done so that the developer doesn't waste all his time and money building roads, doing the SWIP, satisfying all the ordinance requirements, and then get denied on the final, you know what I mean? So,
But there still is that risk.
if something would happen where he doesn't satisfy the requirements, then it goes back to public hearing, goes back to start.
Something that, I received a fair amount of calls, I think 5 or 6. And most of them I explained the process, so forth and so on. Something you said, Jake, and it goes back to prior to the comments, developer feels the need for
Additional lots.
sheds, what was
Call
the
them shouses.
Houses.
Houses,
and homes.
correct.
And did we see this development or part of this development earlier?
It was tabled in October. The planning commission has. They went through the hearing process and there was questions about the stormwater and things that needed to get addressed. So they tabled that matter in October.
And that was, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm thinking of something else. Was that for sheds only at that time?
That's a different development.
Okay.
This was, so the theory about the Schaus is that, in his covenants, he doesn't say you need to stick build a home and not do a shed house, because you could do that, right? It meets 1,500 square feet minimum, all the things that are in the covenants. On the county level, we don't say you can't build a house as long as you have a developable parcel. So I see people, it's kind of a trend now. It's been the last 10 years is people wanting to put up whole buildings and have living quarters off of it. Due to this isn't really back lots of people's residential properties, then they're gonna have to go to the bathroom out there if they're gonna wanna go hang out there, right? Their only other option is to have a porta potty set up there or something, like it to me, I see a lot of houses, sheds, and then possibly some actual stick built residential.
So you're allowing houses on these properties, okay.
You can't have a house in a residential home though. I just want to clarify that.
Oh.
It's a dwelling. We permit those as dwellings. So you can have a shed in the home, but you can't have a house and then want to construct a home down the road. It's one residential dwelling. A house is a house. It's nothing more. It's just built more like a pole building, still insulated, still built to spec and code.
And nothing on these houses, nothing stopping septic, small warming area for heat to keep the septic system, water heater safe during the winter, and parking a fifth wheel inside and utilizing it that way.
Would be no issue because they're spec'd out for residential buildings, so you could have a,
It's not a lake house and it's not on lake property. It's a residential area, right?
correct.
Got it.
What's the square footage here? It says denotes a 2,400, and then you mentioned the 1,500 figure. Is there are those minimum maximums?
Those are 2,400 square foot squares.
Okay, but is that a maximum size?
No.
No. Okay.
In the shoreland district, we kind of adjusted some of our rules. And so, the 40 by 60 is really, just to gauge an idea and a perspective of what kind of building, what size. Before, we amended our rules, 40 by 60 would have been the max for about half of the lots. The north half would have been restricted to 40 by 60
Right.
buildings. And they still are. You could just go through a conditional use process to exceed that based on acreage. And I think 2 acres or more, it's 3,200 would be the max now, based on a 2-acre parcel.
Okay.
Because remember we changed our rules to say if you got 10 acres, you can construct a shed up to 6,000 square
Right.
feet in
We
size.
just did that, yeah.
If you do, but that's still through the conditional use, public hearing, this process, approval by the county board. So,
And the number of buildings on one of these parcels is limited?
2 sheds. Yep. 2 sheds to that square footage.
Couple of things. I'm gonna go regress some. First of all, I'm gonna go back to the guy across with the other development that we talked about previously. I was not in favor of that. I didn't vote for it, whatever. I very much thought that this was very similar to that. So I was not in favor of this. I'll tell you that straight up. I had many comments, many calls. I've been getting them for weeks. Okay. Not in favor of this. My biggest concern was, Isaac, do you have lake property? You just answered that question. You don't have any area on the lake where people would be purchasing lake docks.
Correct.
So now that changes the way I look at things. It's no different than anybody else has public access to the lake. It doesn't matter if you live 500 feet, 1,000 feet, or 10 miles from the public access, they have access to the lake. It's a little more convenient when you're a quarter mile. I understand that. I can't do anything about that. Up until that answer, I was not in favor of this. Basically because of that. Okay. Now reevaluating that, then I have to look at now you're a different animal. You're looking at making a development. It's no different than anybody else making a development a quarter mile away from the lake, such as the place on Maple where they built these storage sheds, whatever. I don't have a problem with it. This is a living dwelling though. These are living lots. I understand that. And I think this is a good thing. Are you going to be able to sell them all? I don't have a clue. Hope so.
And that's not our job
That
to
ain't
decide if
my
the
decide, right.
economics are there.
You're right. My point is that it takes away the biggest concerns that the people that were calling me, we're going to overpopulate the lake. I can't control that.
Mhm.
Whether you live 10 miles or 10 yards
Yep.
from the public access, I can't control that. Now, you're also not blocking the view, which was my big complaint with that other development.
Yep.
I'm driving by this lake and I can't see the lake. It didn't matter what anybody else thought. That was my aesthetics. We're not. You're on the opposite side of the road. What you do with that side, I'm not looking at. And you can't even see, what's the name of that little lake? Johnson. I can't see Johnson from there. I know where it is. I didn't know if you had any opposition, and I haven't heard from Poissant. He must have joined you on the north side.
He didn't make any comments to.
He didn't make any comments to me. He hasn't called me. And, but he's to your north, on your north line, I do believe there.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
He's close.
Yeah,
If he's not right
yeah,
there.
if he's not right there, I'm pretty sure. I've hunted there, that's why I know.
Sure.
So I now, with that, and you knowing that both publicly, that that's where I stood, then this makes a whole different story to me because I can't deny you that with my vote, and people need to know that that is where this sits. We're not denying anybody their rights. Everybody has their right to their opinion about the lake access, but I can't deny that because you're, like I say, 10 feet or 10 miles from the public access. Because I can go access Union Lake with my boat.
And
And
I can clarify one thing about the plating process is the plating process is a lot different than a conditional use permit. Because we notice this out for the possible effects of land uses right around it. And those are plenty. But we can't make decisions on precedents and doing that because that isn't the way that the county operates. We operate on the lot sizes are this, can they be developed? Are the concerns being addressed with the stormwater? Because that was a legitimate concern. That's why it was tabled in October. We didn't have a SWIP. We didn't have anything initiated. We had no idea how the water really even flowed other than our discussions about how it flows on a farm field. And so the landowner's done a lot of work to try to make this development work.
Mhm.
And be it that it might be he sells 3 or 4 that there is just a large shed on, that it's a buildable lot.
Mhm.
And the thing about is, because we heard that a lot at the public meeting, actually both public meetings, is, well, why can't they just be shed lots? A shed lot and a residential building lot are one and the same, spec the same. Once they're spec out that way, it's buildable. You can put the shed on there. I see that a lot is they can't afford a home on that lot, so they build a shed first. And so I guess I'll open it up to Isaac to talk for just a second about kind of where this started.
Well, I got a call from a landowner on the lake, maybe last spring, wondering if he could buy a piece on the north end of this before this all started. And I finally, after that kind of fell apart because he was actually looking on the far north end, um, would be up against Poisson's property and building on that side. You can't really see it in the pictures here, but that fell apart because he realized he would have had to take down a bunch of trees and do a lot of work to a lot to make it buildable. He wanted a back lot for his place on Union Lake. He wanted to put a shed up or shelves or whatever he wanted to do. Well, I finally opened my eyes and thought, well, if there's one guy that's looking for a back lot on Union, there's possibly more. And I have, after putting this together, I have received some negative calls, obviously, but I have my original plan with this was there's probably 20 people on Union Lake that are in need of a backlot. So with all the, the boats and stuff like that that people were worried about, I honestly didn't think there'd be anybody that I wouldn't be adding any boats to the lake. I thought there'd be 20 people that already have boats on the lake that, geez, that'd be pretty slick instead of hauling it to Brooks to put it in my shed over there. Well, I could just drive it a quarter mile and put it in my shed there instead. So that was my original thought behind this. It got, with all the buildings and septics and stuff like that, it got way blown out of proportion. I think by some of the phone calls that I received, probably the same type of phone call. Holy cow, there's going to be, 48 more boats and houses and everything else. No, it's not. They just, like Jake said, platted it that way so you can show the people that, yes, you can have 2 buildings, but you can't, there's not going to be 2 houses on each lot or anything like that. 2 acres is a lot of land. I think it looks shoved in on here, but I just drove across this field the other day to get back to the west there. When they're plotted out, they're going to be pretty big areas. So a 40 by 60 shed is going to look pretty small on these, in my opinion, I guess. So there's in the covenants you have to upkeep your property or whatever. And honestly, just side note, I didn't even want to put a covenant on it because if I bought a lot, I wouldn't want to be told what to do, what size building, that kind of stuff. But I understand now that there's a lot of concern with, you know, trash or, people pulling a trailer house in there and stuff like that. So we put the covenants on and it makes sense in my opinion. But
Yeah, and like just carrying through with the plating process is the plat um, on a planning commission and board of commissioner level is our decision isn't based on if we think he's going to sell lots or not. That's not our job. Our job is it spec'd out? Does it meet the zoning ordinance requirements? And if it does and it satisfies those requirements, then it should be approved. It's as simple as that. Because we today, the decision you need to make is what more would the developer need to do to get approval to carry on his project? It wouldn't be denied. It would be you need to do this, this, and this to satisfy the zoning ordinance in order to do your development. So I just wanted, it's a lot different than a conditional use permit. We factor in a lot more things in plats, but landowner concerns are really not a quarter mile radius, it's 500 feet from a development. That's where the notice and the things that the Keller comments from the staff report, they weren't required to be noticed. A lot of these people got noticed because I think Union Lake Improvement District got noticed and sent out their email chain or whatever it was. That's all fine and dandy. That's just a part of the process. The more people in the process, the more eyes you have on it, the more. I'm sure Isaac got a couple calls that said, "Hey, when you're done, I'll buy a lot from you." So it's just the process that we have. Today, we'd need to tell them go back to the drawing board on this, this, and this, or it should be like staff and planning commission are recommending approval of it. So
Question, comment? Isaac, I got issues with houses.
Okay.
I really am concerned about it, and I think it's a phenomena that's around multiple lakes in Minnesota that's gotten out of hand. And something you had said, you've gotten a bunch of phone calls, and you've heard the comments. I've gotten a fair amount of them. And what Mr. Reese said earlier, I understand, and what Mr. Snyder's also stated, I understand. Publicly, though, on your behalf, I think this development and pretty much everybody that I spoke to or that had called me was okay somewhat with storage sheds if they were controlled. The houses was a different comment, okay? And you know your business or your development better than anybody, but I think publicly would be maybe part of the restrictions or the covenants to look at possibly offering those around the lake first option
Sure.
on a lot, two storage facilities only, and three no septics down the road. And I think it would appease a lot of the concern, not all, but some of the concern. And for me personally, the houses is a real concern for me. And it's not only your development, but multitudes of others that are out there. And whether it's Becker County or Lake of the Woods County, so forth and so on, it's a phenomena that's really not sitting well with people.
As far as the way they look, or
No, well,
I'm
the
just trying to
look,
find my own
Yep, the look and the collection of abandoned cars and a multitude of things when you deal with a storage facility. And especially when you start getting into houses and weekend warriors coming and utilizing and so forth and so on.
The only thing that I'd comment on is the shouse. The really, if Isaac would sell and target, and I think that's a good idea to target Union Lake residents, kind of a first come, first serve type philosophy. But the thing is this is so far from their lake cabins. When they get there, what happens? They have to go to the bathroom. What I'm saying is, it's very much a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
You don't want, because of the fear that it's going to turn into this. But if you have some living quarters, and that's where maybe some kids stay that come visit grandma and grandpa that have the lake place, and that's where they can go and stay because a house is a lot cheaper to build than a house. That's why they're so popular. It actually is taking more pressure off the lake than it is creating it. Now, he has to be mindful, and we've talked about this, is about targeting. Price will dictate
Yeah.
what these turn into. It was mentioned at the meeting. We
Mhm.
talked about it after the
That's a
public
good
hearing.
point, I thought.
Price, it was a good point, and it was one of our members of the planning commission. Price will dictate what these turn into. If you sell them for $15,000, it's going to be a lot of crap out there. So there's very much yin and yang with development. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of we can't govern on precedents. He doesn't have a lot on Union Lake. He's not planning to provide access. And so the thing about somebody building, even a resident on Union Lake, it's so far from their place, even if they were adjacent right over here. You're not, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. You know what I mean? Is that you have to, that's why we have ordinance requirements. You don't want people just going right out the back of the shed, and that's not the point of the rules, So I didn't see if anyone was here. Mary, might want to open it up for comments from them.
Any
'cause I don't
comments?
have any.
Sam, I suspect you would request a
Yeah, just
Just
the
a name.
name and address.
So Mary Bradford, and Isaac has heard from me. He's going about things in the correct way. So we heard that. Paul just reiterated that he was against, but he can't be because he's a landowner and he can do what he wants with the land. But we have seen when the camping grounds were improved and more was added to the lake, we have seen such busyness on the lake that it becomes dangerous, it becomes pollutant. We have people that sit and float on the lake all day long, partying and causing a ruckus. It isn't a peaceful lake anymore. When you say they have a place to go back to use the facilities, we know that doesn't happen. They're not going to go. There's no place for them to put their boat to go back and use the facilities if they don't. There isn't any place for them to put their boats. There aren't slips for them. That was created over on the other side with the campground, and we've got Lake Sarah people with slips. And you know that the progression of this is going to be somebody's going to say, you know what, I can buy a piece of property and put slips in to accommodate these. So really, we are adding that many more to the population. I don't think these are going to be bought by people that want to store their shed or store their boats. There's other places, you just gave approval to that recently. So there's many places that people can buy for sheds. So he's in competition with that if that's what he really feels that he's providing as backlots. Just the busyness on 42 and an inadequate public access that is already broken down, that the Union Lake administration has asked for it to be repaired. There isn't parking for their trailers. That's already overflowed. I know that that's taken care of by our Polk County Sheriff's Department, but they're already stretched, and that'll be the last place that they need to run to, is to take care of parking. They parked on people's property. We've watched people get out of their boats and actually defecate on property that they don't think is noticeably used. They're not going to go back to use a shelves for their accommodations. They're just not going to do that. I think of safety, I think of pollution, I think, and I told Isaac, he is doing everything right. I just do not believe that he's being a good neighbor to the Union Lake. And that has nothing to do with whether you say yes or no or what he does. I just think it's a poor choice. There are so many that are opposed. We're already having trouble with extra people on the lake that float all day long, that jump off and pee in the lake. And we know there's an area where the water is warmer because of the collection of boats that are there. I don't think that his intent really was to put sheds, because he's in competition with what was already approved. His intention is to make homes that aren't on shorelines, that Union Lake cannot pull taxes from. They're not going to get taxed in order to help us keep up the lake. The things that we do and that we have to buy in order to keep the lake a good lake, a clean lake. But he's doing everything right. It would be hard for you to tell him that he can't. But, you know, I look at that public access, there's no parking. If you've been around it, there's just no parking. Where are they going to put they're not going to drive back to their shelves or house or shed to park their trailer in their car and walk the distance to get in their boat. And where are they going to house their boat while they do that? Because there's no slips there. There's no place to put the boats. So somebody will be smart when this is approved and buy a lot or access to put slips in. Makes sense. Even though he doesn't have lakeshore property, somebody who wants to make money can do that.
That would actually need approval from this board to.
Yes, but we talked about that too, Jake, when we said that the other approval that hasn't sold, I don't believe they've really even sold any of their lots that they have, but one of those persons could buy a lot and say, I will give access to the lake. You did say that would have to be approved and probably wouldn't.
Yeah,
But
it's a conditional use permit. There'd be a special permitting process to do that.
so
Which then the board and our planning commission would have a different consideration on. Because if they don't have a use and they don't have like a purpose for that access. there's no
but how did the
chance.
slips get added so that the Lake Sarah people could use the lake? How did
So
those all get added?
when St. Mike's got converted into whatever it is now, I forget the name of it,
I
but
forget.
I think it's Pat Jaseski bought it and revamped it. They're within a proximity of Union Lake to actually get a boat slip on Union Lake because of the frontage that they have. And so that was determined through a conditional use process, and I want to say 2010 or 11 or so it was a part of their conditional use to revamp that campground. And I know it's
In our own Union Lake campground, when they added all those back, how many did they add? Was that 40? 40 some.
Yep.
I mean, that's what we're seeing floating every weekend, all day long. Beer cans flying. It's a pollution. You add more people, you've got more pollution, you have more oil spill, you have more people who don't know the lake. And we watched that when somebody went through the ice this year out on Union Lake. It's somebody that doesn't know the lake. If you do not know that lake and don't have an interest in knowing that lake, it's a spring-fed lake. People who live on it and have had a history on it know where they can be and where they can't be. And that's the same for, there are buoys out, but with low water, you're gonna have, and that's their problem. I mean, if they rip their prop off, that's their issue. But it just causes safety issues when you add more people. And you're right, Paul, you could come from 10 miles away and you're allowed to be on the lake. It doesn't matter if you're a quarter of a mile. I get all of that. It's just, I need to voice my opinion.
And I'm Doug. I
Doug Bradford.
put up here. We have an area where we live on the middle lake, we call it. But the property across from us to the west, I think it's now been sold, but anyway, I've counted on the weekends, you got 40 to 50 pontoons and boats all tied together in a big thing. They got nowhere to go pee, right? So they jump in the lake. That's why the water's warmer. And it smells. But I have watched people, obviously they're doing more than peeing, go to shore, run up in the woods with a cabin up on the hill and do what they gotta do and run back down and go to the lake. See, that's the thing. This lake isn't, the lake wasn't built for.
And I think that the Union Lake Association had said that they were gonna put porta potties on the public access. But they get filled so quickly that there's no way to clean them up over a weekend. So that's those that are being obedient to public things, but there's so many that aren't. And if you can fill it already, if you can fill 2 porta potties already in a weekend, it tells you got something going wrong.
Yeah, and they aren't taken care of, So it's a yes and a no thing, I definitely am not for it, but.
And if it was just for storage sheds, I'm sure Isaac has other property that he could have utilized for that. But he as a good businessman knows that if he's that close to the lake, he's gonna get new people to come in to use it that don't have to pay lakeshore taxes. Done.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to make a statement? If not, Mr. Holy.
One last question. Her comment about paying tax. Jake, you said at the very beginning, part of this development is in the zoning district of the lake.
It's actually in the shoreline district from a different lake, to the north, Johnson Lake.
Oh, okay.
Union Lake Improvement District touched about 2 of the first drawings of this on the far south end. And so none of the properties within here are within the shoreline district of Union Lake. So
And so
we still noticed it out just like we did the first time. It got noticed out to the exact same landowners because we do a parcel overlay. So those 4 parcels that I showed you, that it's a portion of 4 parcels, we actually did the 500 feet around all those parcels. So this, I'll go back to the map. There was no change in how we noticed this out. Here's the portion of the Union Lake Improvement District, or Union Lake Shoreland District here. And the development used to come all the way to this point here.
Okay.
And it's been shortened up. That's that culvert right here.
Yeah.
And the access is right here.
Sure.
Now, when we noticed this out, we did 500 feet around all these parcels. So it clips these homeowners and Union Lake and, so we noticed it out according to our ordinance.
And I'm not concerned about the notice. Where I'm going with this, is it possible? And her point being that if this goes forward and the conditions are met, that we bring it into the Union Lake fee taxation district? Is it possible to make that as a condition?
We don't control the Union Lake, Sarah
Boundary, I don't.
boundaries, no.
That I'm, not that I'm aware of, we don't control that. They have their own board and they've set their own. It would probably be something that would have to be discussed with the Union Lake Sarah Improvement District.
Who would-
Shane Johnson is our contact. He's the president of the Union Lake Improvement District. I can ask him. I got real bad feeling about pulling them in and doing something mandatorily if tax code don't allow it. You know what I mean? Is like, I don't get into tax assessments and adding special assessments to properties. But I'll have to ask them, what do you go by on an improvement district? Are you just doing the shoreland overlay, or how does that work? Is it a proximity that's different than the shoreland overlay? I would assume it's just the shoreland overlay. Where I'm pretty sure. I don't know how else they draw the line on who's in and who's out.
You know,
Um,
I just point of question, so,
yeah,
because I understand Paul's first comments and so forth and so on. Like I said, I have problems with houses. And if the property is gonna be developed for residential weekend homes, that's perfectly fine. But it is gonna put more burden on the lake, and I see other lakes in Polk County being kind of similar. So maybe these districts need to be modified a little bit to encompass some of these areas, which brings in more money into the districts and so forth and so on to help combat that overloading, if you would, of the lake system, so forth and so on. But enough out of me. Thank you.
Paul, you're new in this group.
Newest.
You got any, yeah. thing that is different than you
I
did?
what I said earlier, like the last thing we brought up before about that other dwelling that they put up on Union, I was not in favor of that. I just didn't like the aesthetics of it. Even though I heard Jake made the same comment before about it's our job to approve or disapprove based on his information and the rules and regulations. But this is just a little bit different. I see it a little bit differently now, especially since he doesn't have any property. Because that was my biggest question when I first came in. He doesn't have any property, and I didn't know that at first. And he's the only person, and I know Isaac well, and he's the only person I haven't talked to, but I've gotten many calls over the last 6 weeks from people. So my questions were answered today, so I feel confident, so.
Well, there were a lot of questions and discussion on Friday's meeting. And I just point out that it wasn't a unanimous decision. There were some members that voted no, but it did pass. Anything else?
I don't wanna see any more people on Union Lake.
I guess,
It was nice back in the 60s.
I understand. Joan?
so you mentioned it was not unanimous. So the ones that voted against it, what were their reasons?
there was no reason given. I think it was people contacting them and boat traffic and things that really aren't.
I think they were voting as
Concern.
representatives of what they had heard. And isn't that the place of a government official? They're hired by the public to voice our opinions. And I think that that's why those votes were.
But at the same
Two
time, we
two
have,
members voted
yeah,
no. Now the thing would be is on the planning commission level, if it was unanimously no, we need to then cite why he
Yep.
hasn't satisfied the ordinance. What more does he need to do to satisfy the ordinance? And really, With all the hydrologic things that were done from October to now, I can't come up with one that he hasn't satisfied.
And we're in that same situation that we have to have a legal reason to deny.
And come up with what more does the developer need to do
To not satisfy.
to satisfy the zoning ordinance.
Mhm.
Is there a motion to proceed?
In regards to what, this meeting?
No, they have
Amongst the commissioners.
I'm not a commissioner.
Well, based on the information and the rules and regulations that are in place, I think they're being met, and I would move to approve.
Yeah, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joan. Any other questions?
So we'll vote finally on this on another time, right?
Yeah, the
Mhm.
developer, now the real work starts.
And
That's what I
the,
was telling.
what, 5 or 6 conditions, correct?
Correct, yep.
So this is to move forward for him to build the road, do the things that he needs to do to bring it to the next stage.
Once it satisfies the 6 conditions that are laid forward, then I bring it for final approval.
Within a
Within 6 months.
6-month envelope.
Okay.
Mhm.
You got farming to do too.
Not today.
He's got work to do after this meeting.
Nothing else? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
Aye.
motion carries. I guess we'll move on to number 2.
You're out of here.
All right.
I
Thank you.
wish I was following you. Me too. Now my work needs to be done.
Do you have any
Now
need
I
for a
need to start
second one?
talking. I got it on my phone.
I got it on my.
Okay, second action item that I have for the board to consider today is a conditional use permit for Mike and Sarah Chalet, parcel 74.01264. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to build a self-storage unit building that would be 50 by 150 and contain 8 self-storage units on 32.46 acres of property located in the Shoreland District, Section 5 Woodside Township. Rental storage buildings provided there's an operational plan, a certificate, insurance, and performance surety is required. Setbacks from property lot lines minimum of 100. Screening must be provided and established with 12.4100. Screening and activities, so we can do it with fencing, trees. There could be adequate vegetation. This is pretty wooded area. Some of that screening purposes are for, on lake and looking upwards is kind of how we view screening requirements. Another ordinance standards for conditional use is 1 double face sign not to exceed 32 square feet in area shall be allowed for each permitted non-residential use or conditional use. No sign shall exceed 10 feet in height above the average grade level. That's just to say you can have an entrance sign or something at that 32 square feet or under. And then land use districts, so there's a table of these. Commercial, retail, and personal service establishments are through conditional use process. So pertinent facts about this request. Applicants owns a parcel 32.46 acres, shoreland district, within the shoreland district Maple Lake, so it's less than 1,000 feet from Maple Lake. Applicants proposing a 50 by 153 building with a max height of 20 feet for 8 self-storage units. Proposed building, they'd be 18 by 50 sectioned off in that building. Building's approximately 700 feet from Maple Lake. That's Bun Bay. I'll mind you, I'll bring up the map. It is an inaccessible lake from Maple Lake. Maple Inn Road southeast cuts this bay off from the main part of Maple Lake and is just connected with several culverts. The applicant did create a road access from County Highway 12. It was built up in the summer of 2023, and the parcel has ample space for off-street parking and loading to serve this site use. There will be no water, sewer connected to the buildings, and the units are for personal storage use only. There are no current plans for an office, and the units will be heated and provide electricity for maintaining equipment stored within the units. Applicant plans to have lighting for those that need to access the facility at night. The layout and locations are not finalized, and this will be addressed conditionally if approved. I'm suggesting that he backlight or light the building this way instead of projecting, because through the conditional use process, you got to minimize that light from going projecting out like a lighthouse would. Something backlit would be just fine. Buildings proposed to be in line with the setbacks and conditions laid out in the zoning ordinance for rental storage facilities. Applicant stated that any potential conflicts will be minimized as the property will be kept clean and well maintained. Doors will be located on the east side of the building, and there are existing trees between the proposed building and the lake, and the trees near the entrance of the site that will adequately screen the view from Maple Lake and Cable Lake, which is across the roadway. Applicant has discussed his plans with immediate neighboring property owners to mitigate any potential issues before site development. Stephanie Clam just sent a brief email. DNR area hydrologist stated via email that the applicant should keep as much vegetation, trees, shrubs as possible to screen the building from the lakeside, and maybe even add some along the roadway for screening from the road. I'll show you some pictures of the location. So this was a plat that was done by Chad Lean. There were lots that got lotted off to the north of this. This was kind of the largest of that development. It's 32.46 acres in size. The potential building would be located right here, 100 feet east of that property lot line. There are a lot of trees located in this area here. No plans on having anything leaving the trees is basically, there's no need for him to do anything there. And there's a large stand of trees right here along the building in here. This is a drainage way in between kind of the fields here. It's not cropped across that property lot line. There actually is a drainage way on that property.
This is on number 12.
Yep, number 12 there, right past of where you can start to see Cable Lake off to the north side of the road there, and then as you're coming the curve on Oak Cove there, as you start heading south, and you can see Cable Lake. This is that Bun Bay. They call it Bun Bay here. There's a couple of residents on the south side, and then there's actually a resident. This is Cable Lake right here.
I see.
So this is cut off from Maple Inn Road southeast.
That's Maple there.
Yep. This is considered a part of Maple Lake still. There's no way for you to get a boat from Maple onto this though.
Really?
It's pretty shallow in there, isn't it?
Pretty shallow. It's more of a wetland. They are connected with culverts and things under Maple Inn Road.
Jake, back to that drawing with the asterisks where the building location is. So there would be room to the right of that asterisk for another building in there.
Oh yeah, there's 32 acres and there's a lot of room.
So it could be platted for homes also.
With the mixed uses, I guess I don't know down the road how it would, because you don't need 32 acres to construct a building of this size, but it was foreseen that possibly it could get future subdivided through a plat. You wouldn't be able to just cut it off. It would have to do a plat to do more lots of it, because we already did a plat to do 5 lots. So they essentially would need to get that road developed in there and do that. There's a lot of work to do, but it is a possibility.
He's just setting it in that, right out in that field.
I'll show you some pictures. So this is the
Oh,
rendering of
storage.
what the storage
Yeah.
unit, yeah. So this is the access drive-in that was created in 2023. Yep, this is the, right on the fringe of it. This is actually looking towards Maple Lake. All the trees and stands in there. And this is the view from the road that building would sit in right here. Again, 8 storage units, 18 by 50, and this is the operational plan. Storage of personal property, no camping or overnight stays, maintain monthly fees.
Never ending.
So with that, Planning Commission and staff recommends approval of the conditional use with the following conditions. The new building must be 100 feet from all property lot lines. A certificate of insurance or performance surety is required. Operational plan be established and all activities conducted in accordance with the operational plan. 1 double-faced sign not to exceed 32 square feet. Applicant must control lighting in a manner that no disturbance to neighboring properties will result. And lights cannot create a traffic hazard on adjacent County Highway 12. Conditional use will become void 1 year after it was granted unless used. Conditional use shall be subject to annual administrative review to verify all conditions being met. Waive from reading the 6 other than travel trailers, fifth wheels, motorhomes, pop-up campers, and other items designed for short-term occupancy can be stored within any enclosed building located on the property, but cannot be used for short-term occupancy or routine occupancy within the storage building. No storage units can be occupied in any residential capacity in any manner. With that, questions, comments?
You might have noticed, the request was for 50 by 150, but the architect, recommended that they needed an extra 3 feet for the roof on that. So that's why we're at a 50 by 153.
Correct. Structural supports push the building to 153 instead of 150. I did update on this, but 3 feet is 3 feet, and you got to build the building to code, So
Any questions? If not, is there a motion to proceed?
So move.
And Paul, is there a second?
One second.
Second by Warren. Any further questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
Aye.
motion carries. Number 3,
okay. Number 3 is a conditional use permit for Minnesota Power, looking at doing a substation south of CHS in Erskine. So some facts about this. So they're looking at obtaining a conditional use permit for the operation and construction of an electrical substation located section 32 Badger Township. This is a parcel that's immediately south of that CHS facility. And in our zoning ordinance 12.6200 says they need to go through the conditional use process for substations. As long as these can be maintained, the landscaping treatment is in keeping with the neighborhood and provides screening where appropriate, that the installation is secure from the public and does not create a potential public hazard. The building is of an architectural style in keeping with the neighborhood, that access and parking is adequately provided, that the proposed maintenance program of the building structure and grounds is in with keeping with the neighborhood. Applicant stated that the conditional use permit to construct and operate the electrical substation on parcel, which is planned to be 4.5 acres in size. Project will involve a new 65 kV electrical equipment and provide reliable electricity to CHS grain terminal, as well as Mentor and Erskine service area. Substation is to benefit its member-owned electric distribution cooperative, Wild Rice Electric Co-op. The proposed expansion area is approximately 115 by 145 in size and will be secured with a fence to prohibit unauthorized access to the site. Proposed substation is going to be split off a parcel 03179.01. It would be 4.5 acres in size and meet all the zoning requirements for a buildable parcel. The site is needed to provide reliable power to the local area. The proposed construction would have a new access approach into the site to provide adequate off-street parking for the facility. Applicant noted that it, would fit in the neighborhood and not create a public hazard. No comments were received on this request. This is their letter away from reading. It basically just states that, they're going through the conditional use process for CHS and providing more reliable power to the immediate vicinity. This is a site location, so it's this small parcel that actually CHS services would access in to get to their scale area. They're keeping a portion of this parcel, most likely adding it to their property that's already existing there. If it stands alone as a parcel, it'll be fine. It'll meet all zoning ordinance criteria. This is how that would be split. See, it's kind of right south of the existing access drive in. They'd create a new access point to get up into this Minn Kota power substation on the far east portion of that new parcel. So with that, Planning Commission and staff recommended approval. Following conditions shall become void 1 year after granted unless used. The installation is secure from the public and does not create a potential public hazard. Minn Kota Power Co-op must acquire the property from CHS and the parcel must be in conforming buildable parcel. So they must split it off. And then I'll waive from reading the 6 other standards.
Is there a motion to proceed?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hey, John. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 5.
So applicant is Paul Sorensen. Applicant's requesting a conditional use permit to locate a grain leg tower support at a max height of 110 feet in size. Zoning ordinance requirements, anything over 100 feet would need to go through the conditional use process. And basically farm accessory structures and similar structures do fit into that. We just need to go through the process because setbacks are increased, and then if there's any FAA or any other procedures that we need. So the height of the structure sets that setback. So you take the height of the tower, whatever the max height is, and add 10 feet to the property lot line. So it has to be located. If it falls, basically, it's going to land on his property, as I believe the setback requirement. So height of the above structure in excess of 100 feet shall be permitted upon issuance conditional use permit. The permit may be issued only with the findings that the said structure could not be dangerous and would not adversely affect neighboring property. This parcel is pretty remote. I mean, it's a farm field right now. There's not a lot of infrastructure located around it. One thing I will mention is there is a 2-phase or 3-phase line sitting on the east side of this proposal. So easy tie-in. That's why this site was chosen, because there's already 3-phase to this site. Parcel is 24197.00, section 31 Fisher Township. It's 60 acres in size. Proposed grain leg is at a max height of 110 feet. Grain leg is below FAA restrictions, which would be less than 200 feet, or I mean, over 200 feet. So this proposal is less than 200, which would, again, if you exceed 200, then they have lighting criteria the FAA does for either painting it and lighting it or doing some other things. it was discussed greatly about lighting it anyway because it's pretty high up there, and we got crop sprayers and things that low light things can get kind of a little lost. So applicant sounded fine. We added a condition in there to do lighting as well as securing the tower itself at the ground level, is gating or doing something in regards to not having unauthorized access up the staircase. So that's kind of yet to be determined. I left that condition kind of open ended, that it just must be secured and prevent unauthorized access. No comments were received. Planned construction should not be dangerous and not adversely affect neighboring properties. So I can kind of go over some pictures with you. This is the site location. It's very remote. There's a home about half-mile away, nearest residence. But again, 3 phases sitting on the east side of that particular county highway. So County Road 256, applicant will have to pull permits through Highway Department to create the access in. So I'll have some work to do with the Highway Department pulling their permits, but this is site pictures of it. Farm field right now, so plans to meet all setbacks and ordinance requirements. So, and that is the structure itself. So it's basically a spiral staircase that wraps around the tower. So discussion on the planning commission was just having this either fenced off just a little bit or a gate or something. So somebody, I mean, if somebody wants to get in, they're going to get it one way or another. But having it so it isn't like teenage kids easily getting right up the thing. So
It's very common in those type of staircases to have a gate. Not
halfway up to, and
no, not, it's less than halfway up. It's within 20 feet of the bottom.
Yeah.
So, back to the lighting, that was a requirement here.
yeah, there should be
I think that was.
yeah, top of the grain leg tower must have a light to be seen in low light conditions was one of the conditions added.
I think that would be countywide, anything over
100 feet. We're typically putting that in there. No?
You would like to see it lower.
lower.
Oh, lower. Oh, I got you. I got you.
I think it's only a good idea, and not even a strobe light, because there's low density strobe lights, but just red or minimal illumination type things, because as a ex-aviation guy, scud running is quite common and prevalent in this area, and low-level flying is.
Yeah, historically, anything that goes through a conditional use to exceed 100, we're always putting the light. It's easy to do. You're having electricity all the way to the top anyway.
It's good neighbor.
Yeah, he had no problems with proceeding with that.
No,
so it's not an issue.
So that number 11 was added, as well as due to the remote location of the grain leg, the staircase must be secured from unauthorized entry was added, because it is out it's not in his farmyard.
No,
He lives 3 miles away. Structure must be built 120 feet from all property lot lines. Structure must comply with all FAA regulations. Again, they don't really get involved when it's less than 200, but conditional use would become void 1 year after it was granted with less used, and then I'll waive from the be a good neighbor conditions unless you want me to. I'm gonna save my breath.
Is there a motion to proceed?
So moved.
Second.
And seconded by Warren. Any other comments? Questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. River bottom.
Okay. Next permit's a little bit different. It is a large gathering permit. The large gathering permit that we do annually for the Johnny Holmes concert that is scheduled on Memorial Weekend. Event will take place this year on May 26th, 2024. Again, the Maple Lake Pavilion location, and it is located in Maple Lake. So, with large gathering permits section, we got an entire section, 20 deals with large gathering permits. So the jump into the staff report. So some of the things in section 20 is a little bit lengthy section of the ordinance. It talks about a lot of different requirements for different events. Now, this is an annual event that's taken place for quite some time, albeit changed hands here about 3 years ago to this group. Amy Smith and Kayla Peterson, they're sisters, formed River Bottom LLC, is the actual landowner. It was their mission to basically purchase the Maple Lake Pavilion and operate it as it historically has been. They've got a lot of support with the community around them that they wanted this event to take place. It's an event that has taken place with no hiccups in the past. So in the zoning ordinance, some of those things that kind of go into play is correct and prevent conditions that may adversely affect people attending large gatherings, provide minimum standards for the design and operation of large gatherings, to ensure large gatherings of persons held for musical, racing, entertainment, or other communal activities are conducted in accordance with the proper and acceptable sanitary, police, fire, and other health and safety considerations, establish inspection requirements and associated procedures involved with administering and enforcing this ordinance. So every year I send basically this request out to all department heads within the county because we call it the large gathering review panel. And they can weigh in on what they think that happened last year, what they think that there's any new regulations from MDH or anything regarding hosting an event like this. Comments I received back is from Sheriff Jim Tadman that they will provide at least three deputies to the event. Everything's ran smoothly in the past. And I also do reach out to the local fire responders as well. So Jay Anderson was one that also reached out that they will provide emergency services if needed during the event. So the mentor volunteer firefighters. So it can change based on what you get coming through the door, but this is really an annual event that's held out there. So the building is 4,700 square feet in size. Been in operation since 1928. The main event for this is on Memorial Weekend, where they have over that 1,000 people. Currently, they do have a conditional use permit to operate other events. Those are to not exceed 950 people. To basically, that's one of the conditions that was established in that conditional use permit, that they're allowed to do the art show or the car, classic cars, some different events that they do out there. But they have satisfied several zoning ordinance requirements, all zoning ordinance requirements, which include the certificate insurance from Maple Lake for the event and continuing through that. Basically, a cleanup bond for $25,000 in coverage. That's for if somebody needs to go clean up, made a disaster or mess or whatever. Sanitary facilities, bringing in 15 portable toilets by a licensed provider for the event. Solid waste disposal is collected and disposed of by the owner, and an operational plan and supplemental information were received on how they're going to run the event. And then the property perimeter be fenced to control on our unauthorized entry into the event. The applicant has provided us with vendors. They do have appropriate licensing from MDH for food and service of food in kind of remote. Irishman Shanty is going to do the liquor for the event. There will be alcohol at the event. Obviously, we can't serve underage drinking or anything, but concessions and food I just got an updated email from Amy that they do have two food vendors that do have the appropriate licensing, which she'll send me before the event. So,
Are they doing the axe throwing?
that's still up in the air. That was
Okay.
the only new thing on the application was an axe throwing. The same vendor that goes to the Polk County Fair, and so I'm assuming they have certificate of insurance and things that are required to do that. They're still up in the air if that's going to be a go or not. If so, I'll get the copy of
Sure.
know.
Okay.
the vendor's
I
license.
don't know
on
if he's
that.
still in business, so.
Yeah, that was the one thing they had mentioned is that they were unsure if they were going to be able to nail that down or not.
All right.
Which either way, it sounds like it would be a go. But if he doesn't have licensing and isn't carrying that business, then well, it won't be there. So, I don't think there was really anything else. I haven't. Just general comments. Maple Lake Improvement District has no issues with the request. Rich Sanders said they'll place no parking signs where needed. Jay Anderson commented that emergency services will be provided by them and Polk County, should they be needed. So, if it's all right, I'm going to waive from reading the conditions on this because there are conditions that just get carried forward. Those conditions that no more than 1,250 people, all exits be free and remain free of obstacles. Max persons in there will be 511 persons. That was actually determined by Jay Anderson, as well as the state fire marshal. It's based on a certain square footage of the building and standing space. And if you have tables, it changes the number. They don't have anything new. It's dance floor, 511 max people in there. They do have volunteers that are outside the door that have clickers to know, are they there or are they not? If somebody leaves, click it back. Somebody enters, click it in. So they do have a mechanism in place to make sure that they have no more than 511 people, which seems like a heck of a lot if you look at
It's a lot of people in there at one time.
it.
There's more people outside than there is inside.
Yeah. And that's the perimeter fenced and things. That's the area. I'll kind of go over the little plan they had here of fencing this area and then having food vendors, possible axe throwing. I don't know. The flatbed trailer was something that was a little bit of a discussion topic at the planning commission. She had indicated that somebody from Polk County told her they needed a flatbed trailer there with nothing on it. And I asked her to confirm with the sheriff's office that that was something that wasn't a request through the sheriff's office, because to me a flatbed trailer sitting there is kind of like a dance floor that you so we actually recommended she move the flatbed trailer and not even have it, go park it on. They purchased a parcel where the parking area is from Kurt and Isaac Larson up here, which is right before you get into those storage units on the east side of 12 there. So they actually purchased that parcel for the parking for the pavilion. So that was something new too, is they actually purchased this parcel.
I personally have been involved in midnight hay rides.
So you want to run the flatbed trailer out there?
You're okay with it?
So that's all I got. The pictures of the site. They've done a good job. I will mention this. They've done a good job with the upkeep of that building. It looks, they put up a new sign there that Maple Lake Pavilion and kind of an old school sign. It's kind of a landmark.
Yep.
It is a landmark.
And I'm glad they bought it and didn't demo it and do something. They're trying to make it work.
Three more years, it'll be 100 years old.
Johnny Holmes, is he still?
Yep, he's still alive, but she
He's
does
not
all the singing.
97.
His daughter does all the singing.
I think
He shows up.
I think he was, the last time I was in there back in the 76, 77, he was the headliner.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other comments, questions? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
Okay, next action item I have is Jordan Olson, Sydney Williams, parcel 27.00251.00. Property is located on Anderson Union Lake. I just call it that because it's Union Lake, but everybody calls it Anderson Lake. So they are looking at conditional use permit for construction of a accessory structure at 1,440 square feet in size. There is an existing shed on the parcel, which would bring the total based on their acreage to 1,600 square feet with 2 accessory outbuildings, which is the maximum. So that's why they're looking at constructing a 36 by 40 accessory building. But then also connecting that to a septic holding tank. So ordinance requirement 18.2225E, and then going over 800 square feet is 18.2225F. I'll kind of waive from going over the biggest things of conditional use of 800 or more in excess. Square foot outbuilding is vegetation and screening. Maximum height's 15 feet, and then the parcel size will dictate how large you're able to go. And they're 40,000 square feet or over, so 1,600 is the max. They own a riparian lot, so it touches Union Anderson Lake, 44,850 square feet in size, Garden Township Section 1. Specifically, it's Lot 12 of Anderson subdivision. Again, the applicant's proposing a 36 by 40, max height of 15 feet, which would be connected to a septic system, septic holding tank. There's an existing 10 by 16 shed located on the site now. There are nice ash and oak trees located in between this and the lake. Stephanie Clam made a comment. DNR area hydro, the primary reason for shoreline controls is to protect water quality by retaining vegetation or riparian habitat. Shoreline regulations seek to minimize erosion and sedimentation into public waters by limiting density and impervious surfaces. She adds if the county approves the application, DNR would recommend the following conditions. No living, sleeping quarters, or kitchen facilities shall be added to the accessory structure in the future. Future buildings on the parcel meet 25% or less coverage. Any bare ground be planted with perennial vegetation, preferably natural vegetation. All future structures and associated septic systems not block or change natural drainage ways on the above mentioned parcels, and ensure that the parcel has another adequate location for another septic system if the existing one should fail. Side note, there is an existing septic system located on the site. They plan to build a home on the property, and the septic system has passed a septic compliance inspection. It's sized accordingly to what they're looking at putting up for the building. There was a modular home that was added to the site in 2011, I believe. That's when the septic system was installed. They have since removed the modular home from the site. This would be actually looking at the sidewall of the proposed shed. Location would be just on the other side. This is a well house here. Just on the other side of this, septic would go on the roadside to meet the well setback. So planning commission and staff recommended approval with the following conditions: no guest house uses. Applicant shall have furnished evidence of having recorded no guest house waiver with the property deed before the building permit is issued. Applicant shall keep vegetation between the structure and the lake to screen the structure from the lake. Currently, the lot is vegetated, but any excessive tree removal in the shore impact zone will not be allowed. That is within 50 feet of the lake. So no clear cutting. If it's dead, whatever, you can cut it down, but keep the trees you have within 50 feet of the lake. No future development on the lot would exceed 25% impervious. Applicants shall provide a septic design and a holding tank servicing agreement for the planned septic holding tank, and prior to us issuing the permit. And then the structure shall be used only by the occupant of the residence. Basically, it's the definition of an accessory structure in our ordinance, not for business use or any of that. And then the conditional use shall become void 1 year after it was granted unless used. It's kind of their overall plan. Shed / shop.
That's the
Septic
new
one.
one they're doing is up there?
Yep, this is the shop here. Yep. No special permitting required for their dwelling. That was just a general, that'll be just a general permit. It's the shed over 800 square feet.
Are they gonna use the same septic?
Yep,
the house?
the house is gonna tie into the existing septic that passed the septic compliance inspection last year when they
Oh,
bought
that's
the
over here.
property. Yep, it's to the south there. Yep.
So it's just a holding tank for what they're doing now. Oh, I got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no way to tie into the existing one. It's just too
No.
far away.
Yep, yep.
They had a pipe dream that maybe that would be possible, but it's kind of like there's you're gonna have more problems than you are anything good. So that's all I got for.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make it.
Warren, is there a second?
Second,
By Paul.
as long as they build the house.
Yeah, I think they're
They
excited
do.
to get
We got an
going.
application in the office for the home too.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, they're biting at the bit.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
Okay, next action item is conditional use for Ben Kuznia, parcel 45552.00 for hooking a new septic system to an accessory structure on a back lot on Union Lake. Again, standard 18.225E states no septic system without conditional use. The parcel is a back lot on Union Lake. Specifically, it's in Hideaway Cove, so southeast portion of the lake. Backlot size is 150 by 381, 58,800 square feet. We did issue a construction permit last year for a 40 by 60 shed. Or I'm sorry, the 40 by 60 shed we actually issued the summer of 2020. We issued a permit for a 28 by 28 last summer. So it's got its two accessory buildings. That's what the backlot is able to have, is the two accessory buildings. Planned septic system would serve both accessory buildings. Currently, there's already a holding tank on the one accessory building. So he's looking at having two sheds with septic system. Septic system would be designed to handle flow capacity of both. Our office has received the full septic design on this. Existing impervious is 6% of the lot area. Again, stormwater rules is 25% or less. Shed is to have no habitable space. It's defined by the Polk County zoning ordinance. Applicant will be required to do the no guest house waiver before the building permit is issued. And we have been actively checking those conditional uses for the past, on our list of the past 15 years, those conditional use, we're meeting with landowners and going through those buildings. So Stephanie Clam, she sent her boilerplate letter. I just read it in the last one, so if I may, I would wait from reading it. It's the same letter I get. Rachel Kleiny's Polk did comment that there are wetlands located on the southeast corner of the parcel. It's very slim sliver right back here on this parcel, and where they're looking at developing the septic and the building. It's right here. There's a low area. He hasn't done any type of clearing or anything. Septic system design. So there's an existing septic holding tank. Would be to get it over to, I can't see my cursor here, but this is the shop that was done in 2020. Conditional use to tie into a holding tank. And this shed would be then tied into a new septic and looking at doing a mound septic system. It's the structure, told it's a woodworking structure with a sewing room and loft area. And this is the building. We've actually been in this building through our conditional use check a couple of years ago. Dylan with our office was met with Ben. There's no living quarters in it, as per their no guest house waiver states they can't. So, and then this is just a shot of their front lot, just a garage on it right now, and a septic system. Actually installed a septic for the future cabin, which I believe we'll get plans on here soon. With that, Planning Commission and staff recommended approval with the following conditions: no guest house uses. We need the no guest house waiver. Applicant shall provide septic design for licensed professional. We just got that. This was actually a carryover hearing from our March hearing. No future development that would exceed 25%. Conditional use will become void 1 year after it was granted unless used. And I'll waive from reading the 6 play nice with your neighbors standards.
Is there a motion to proceed?
I'll make it.
Warren, looking for a second.
Second.
Any other questions, concerns? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
Last action item. Can't believe we're there. Been looking forward to this all week.
5 minutes.
I got it. We got it. Okay, so this is a little bit different request.
We're gonna make it.
No, not a chance. I had no faith I was gonna make it in 2 hours, so I better get after it.
You're doing
A little
well.
bit different request. Daniel Bauer, parcel number 28-134.00. Applicant is requesting a conditional use to operate a honeybee processing facility, beekeeping, and storage of beekeeping equipment on a parcel of land located in the agricultural zoning district, Garfield Township. The building would be 80 by 150 with a 30 by 30 office attachment to an 80 by 100 accessory structure. Split up from storage and processing and then kind of an office in between, and there'll be a bathroom in there and whatnot. So conditional use is required for farm-related business that the business produces a product that involves a process or utilizes locally grown or produced commodities. Been running all those beekeeping businesses off this section 13.7003 since it is kind of a farm-related process to get a product or commodity. Standards that follow suit. Sewage has to be able to be treated by a conforming on-site sewage system. Building is of a scale and demand for support services such as sewer, water, police, fire protection, roads, or streets can be accommodated within the context of the service levels available to the agricultural area. I'll just note this site location is about mile and a half west of Fertile. And so, we don't have any concerns with water, fire protection, roads, streets. The business is then operated in conformance with all conditions of an approved plan of operations that satisfy the provisions of Section 12. A lot of Section 12 talks about off-street parking, having adequate parking. I will note that this isn't a retailing business. They're not selling honey to me and you. We can't go there and purchase little bottles of honey. This is for large barrel drums of honey leaving this facility. So, side note, it's not a business where people can just pull up and purchase honey. Wholesaling business. It's located in section 19, Garfield Township. Site is a little bit of mixed uses going on. So, formerly it was a trailer court where up to 12 trailer homes were on the property. There still are 6 trailer homes on the property, but the plan is to discontinue the multiple residential houses on the property in the future. Landowner has made advances on removal of 3 trailers on the site, 3 mobile homes on the site. He purchased the property 2 years ago and is working with an attorney to, it's more like an eviction process, but he's not setting a hard deadline eviction. He wants these people to be able to relocate or have housing, not just kick them off to the street. So with that, obviously, landowners and then personal property owners have rights. And so this was much discussed at our planning commission regarding, do we set a condition that it can't have mixed uses? And so what we did is we formulated a condition that seemed like it would benefit all. I'm very reluctant to put in there the trailers must be removed, destroyed, whatever. I don't want to get into legal ramifications of why I don't want to do that. The one thing is that at a least we decided that after 3 years, if mixed uses occur on the site and continue to occur on the site, then that would need to be split in accordance with our zoning ordinance. It's a 10-acre parcel of property, and easily enough, 5 acres could be retained by each use. And most likely, if the trailer home wants to, the trailer court wants to stay there with 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, trailers, because it ain't going to be split with 6 or more. Just because of spatially, it can't happen. Then he would look at splitting the parcel and then rezoning that trailer mobile home park into our commercial district, because that's where it needs to be. It should be there. It was done so long ago, it predates the ordinance. So that was the condition that was formulated on the public hearing. I'll kind of go over the picture of what that would look like. Get a zoomed in property. Okay, this trailer home is no more. He's purchased that because basically he has to purchase these from the occupants to purchase the trailer home to remove the trailer home. And so that's the legal ramifications that he's going through right now. This trailer has been removed. It got removed when he purchased the property. I don't think anybody was occupying that. This one here is in the works to be removed, as well as this one here. It is these 3, I'll say, here, and then possibly this, that we don't know. It's his intent to remove them, purchase and remove, but at a very least, we felt it was something that we needed to address for a possible future split that would actually go right here. 5 acres and 5 acres.
Are these mobile homes primary residence?
The primary residence by this particular individual, he lives right here. Daniel Bauer.
But the others are
They have a lease with him.
summer use, basically.
Nope.
Year-round.
Full-time residents.
Okay.
Yep, full-time residences.
Isn't that one there almost, the one down below
This one?
to the right?
This one.
Isn't that one almost taken care of as well?
Yeah, I think these two are going.
So that he,
It basically is here
right on,
that
Yeah.
we're unsure.
that's what I
He's
thought.
got to go through the legal processes of, eviction and acquiring. And I'm reluctant to set a deadline on him getting
3 years, I
taken
think,
care of.
is fair.
So we just said if mixed uses occur, that it would be split in accordance so that there isn't mixed uses on the same parcel. That'll help assessing and also things carrying forward with what we're allowing for all these mixed uses. As we don't want parcels that are able to be, oh, we got a business, a billboard, and a something or another, a house on it. That doesn't make sense. So that's where that kind of condition came from. I wanted to just kind of provide a backstory on that and setting the 3-year limitation.
Doesn't his new building cross the line though, the north line there you go?
It's all north of the drive coming in.
No,
here.
that, yeah, does it go north of
Nope.
that?
Nope, he's maintaining that setback.
Oh, okay.
15 feet is the setback, and it's being maintained, yep. As well as meeting I think we were within 20 feet of that north property lot line based on meeting the roadway setback as well, because there's a little stretch of township roadway here.
Does he own the property?
Yep. He owns this entire property
Mm-hmm.
surrounding it. I
Okay.
believe that's the 30 acres to make it 40. Well, there's a little that he doesn't own on the south side of the road. So darn near 30 acres, probably 27, 28 acres.
So on that 5-acre split down the road, the north split could slide into that other parcel then, correct?
I think it would just be split, this property be split in half and then have a parcel here with his business on it, and then a parcel that would need to get rezoned if it's going to continue to be a mobile home park. They're not adding anything to that. His plan isn't it to expand it and redo the mobile home park. The plan is for them to come away and him totally utilize that site for his business. But in 3 years, if things haven't got that far, then we feel it's important to split that property, and then they'll continue to be able to have a lease agreement with him to continue to live there. So
What's the situation with septics out there, or
there were some really bad septics on the north end of this. I've probably been out there 5 times in the last, and you know it's turned from 12 to 6 to what it is now. Everything was established pre-ordinance, and so the one thing is with septics, we can't force people to get compliance inspections unless they're doing a project. If they were going to move in a new mobile home, okay, inspect all the septics. There's been nothing done in the last 40 years, other than they just continue to be occupied. Now the only way is if we get that call that, hey, there's septic oozing all over the ground. Then it's done. Then you have what you need. You force them to do a compliance inspection, and that's a few of the ones that have been taken off the site. So there was a lot in there, configured within there. And it crammed in a little area.
There was 12 or more.
Yeah. They stretched up.
They were on that
around.
whole space full.
Yeah.
But not no more.
So we just continue. I mean, like I said, the landowner wants it to be just for his business, but things happen. He doesn't know the legality of the whole thing. That's why he's got an attorney working on lease agreements and eviction type paperwork. There's a process, and sometimes those processes take a lot longer than we can put a condition that you meet it in a year or something. I think what we came up with was fair and can benefit all. This is just where that would be located there, 20 feet from the north property lot line. The connection between septic system would be out in front of it. Site prep going on. This was also a carryover from our March meeting. So with that, Planning Commission and staff recommend approval with the following conditions. Business shall remain in the scope of the original operational plan. Any deviation from the plan will trigger a new conditional use permit. No future development of 25% more on the property for impervious coverage. Applicant shall provide a septic design from a licensed septic professional for all the planned septic system before issuance of the building permit. Conditional use will become void 1 year after it's granted unless used, and I'll waive from the other 6 standards. And I already went over the after 3 years if mixed uses occur, then it's split within the zoning ordinance requirements.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to
I so
proceed?
move.
I will second that. Any further questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Jacob, I'm not even gonna say goodbye.
I'll take a 5-minute break.
Oh, we're gonna have more fun. Don't worry. Don't worry about that.
I don't know if you guys saw your emails that Lisa Lyden won't be in. It will be Stacy Erickson coming in for her.
Oh, for the request.
Yep, for Boston. Or for her, excuse me. So close, Jake. It gets rooted all.
Sad boy.
Can you feel your legs?
Yeah, I can feel my legs barely.
Next on our agenda.
Good morning.
Hi,
Good
Darren.
Morning.
Chuck not here today,
No.
Is not.
so that's too bad. I needed these signed today, but
Forge it.
all right.
Well, in Chuck's absence, I guess technically I am his fill-in, so I can.
Signature,
Okay.
yep.
If we could. Gary can sign them too. The first three items I have are lettings that we've had in the last couple weeks. And here's the abstracts for 'em.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna do Hammond first, correct?
Yeah, let's get this going. Coming the right way.
Yep. Going the wrong way.
Okay, the first project, SAP 06599-294, SAP 06599-295, and these are box culverts in Hammond Township. We opened electronic bids at 10 a.m. on April 26th. The lowest responsible bidder is Gladen Construction of LaPorte, Minnesota, whom we would like to award to in the amount of $212,661.60. And we had 8 bidders for this one.
This was the low bid
That was the low bid.
in your recommendation.
We recommend awarding to
I move
Gladen
to approve
Construction.
it.
I'll second.
And we do have a second. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Again, we open electronic bids at 10 a.m. April 26th for SAP 06599-297, 06599-298, and these are box culverts in Russia and Bransfield Townships. The lowest responsible bidder is Gladen Construction Incorporated of LaPorte, Minnesota, whom we'd like to award to an amount of $222,198.
Is it two
Two separate contracts.
in two different townships?
Yep,
Mhm.
yep. Yeah, the last one was 2 in Hubbard, and this is 1 in Russia and 1 in Bransfield. And we had 6 bidders.
We worked with Gladen before.
Yes.
And
Good
they
luck
do
with
good
Gladen's.
work. They do good work.
They
Yeah.
do nice work.
Is there a motion to proceed?
So moved.
Joan, is there a second?
Second.
Mark. Any further questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Next.
We opened electronic bids at 10 a.m. on May 3rd, last Friday, for County Project 118-202-1220 and County Project 118-203-1221. These are on County Road 202, County Road 203. The lowest responsible bidder, again, is Gladen Construction Incorporated of LaPorte, Minnesota, whom we'd like to award to an amount of $1,188,227.37.
These are the ones up in
My
north
area.
of McIntosh and Foston.
Up a year, right?
Mine's looking.
Each one was 2 miles.
Yep, yep. Okay.
And
We
we had,
talked about those before, right?
Mm-hmm.
and we had 5 bidders for
Mhm.
this project.
That's pretty close to just our estimates.
Yeah, I think so.
It was about 600 apiece, wasn't it?
Actually, everything was about 10 to 15% under engineer's estimate.
Move to approve.
Thanks, Joan. Is there a second?
Second.
Further questions, concerns?
And
We're
it
gonna
was,
probably start within a week or two. So
it was interesting
If
sitting,
not-
listening to the bid opening.
Hmm.
I like that.
All those that approve say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
They're starting on the 202, 203 next week.
that's what it sounds like, yeah.
All the,
I got a pre-con Friday, so I'll know more.
and all easements were signed.
Railroad crossing.
We let a contract for paving in February for CSA 45, and that runs from Trunk Highway 220 to Trunk Highway 75 at Euclid. There's a railroad crossing at 75 that's deteriorated. It's old wood planks. We've contracted with Minnesota Northern Railroad to replace this crossing with concrete planks. The estimate is attached. Polk County's cost is $66,940. And it's our normal process where we pay materials and the railroad does the labor. So we'd like that approved.
That's the additional 33,000 contribution.
Yes. So the total price was $99,940 for the estimate. And Rich signs this agreement, so I just need approval to
Proceed.
proceed.
Is that the whole thing there?
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yes, and then the estimate.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I see.
Is there a motion to approve the 66,940 portion?
So moved.
Mark? I will.
Second.
Paul? Any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Last item, we have a master agreement with MnDOT that you guys approve, I think every 3 years, I'm not sure, but it's just an agreement where we share services. Polk County has had MnDOT do our white edge and our yellow paint striping for the last 20 years. Now MnDOT has a new process where they would like work orders signed to perform this work. Before it was kind of a handshake that we did between us and Crookston MnDOT, but new processes, they want work order done. So
Price go up then?
it did. I would have to see, right now the estimate is $200,000 a year. At 8 cents for the 4-inch and I believe 10 cents for the 6-inch. Our contracts with our construction projects, it's usually 12 cents and 15 cents for each one. So it's cheaper than contracting and it's convenient for us to have them do it.
But it's well within your last 20-year average.
Yeah, like I said, it's up a little bit and we can find that out. I can talk to our accountant, but it's in the ballpark.
And you good luck you have good working relationship with them.
Yes.
That's
Like I said, it's convenient. They kind of do their roads and our roads, what fits in, and if we need it extra, they'll come out and do it. So it's been working well.
I move.
Second,
Any further questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Those opposed, motion carried. Anything else?
And that's it.
I've had a couple calls on County Road 61 condition there. What can be done, it's, other than wait till it dries up a little bit.
I don't have an answer for you. We got a lot of roads that, that's tough
Right.
right now.
Yeah,
Of course.
Can you double check on the Old Railroad Grade Trail on the bridges there?
We have those.
The paths, there's some gaps between them, I think.
Oh, on the, yeah,
Because some of they're worried about the paths. I think we told Rich about those.
he had
Gee,
pictures.
Yeah, because it's just getting to be that time of year. We
I'll
need
be
to get done.
inspecting them when I get a chance, so I'll probably do it sooner than later.
Yeah,
And then I can go out and,
either we got to get something across them just until we can get them fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if they get little wheelers, their wheels are gonna hit the gaps.
yeah, like I said, I need to get out and inspect them and
All right, thanks.
look at them.
And then I had sent Rich a text about the road right north of Trail.
The County Road 28 gravel.
Yep, the gravel one. That it's really been very poor shape, that people are actually, going around versus driving that road.
We got base one on that too, so I was up there yesterday. I should have probably driven through it.
Yeah, so, washboardy and.
Yeah, maybe washboardy or some chuck holes.
Mhm.
Okay.
So,
I'll have Randy even go out and look at it.
okay. Yeah, because I think I received a call last week, I think.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so can I get?
Yep, I got him on there. He's
Oh.
signed.
Everything.
Yeah, do you need me on this one?
That would be good. Thank you.
So we're away.
Thank you.
Mr. Carlson's next.
And Brandon, there's a mouse up there that you can just scroll.
Okay. Good morning.
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 I'm Brandon Carlson with Minocqua Golf Course. I'm here to ask for a riparian lease on the 50 acres, but so where you guys stockpile your snow in the wintertime and where the DNR's boat landing is between Ampride and Highway 2 on the bypass there. So there's 3 separate plots there. It's not highlighted super well in this. Is this my? I'll go right there. So the red area is the area that I was proposing repairing lease, and the reason I'm here is we've gotten irrigation water from American Crystal for 30 years. It was their wastewater recycled water to irrigate the golf course. We need about 10 million gallons a year to irrigate Minocqua. And they renewed their wastewater permit and they decided to renew without our irrigation in their permit. So they felt it was a risk at getting their permit approved, and they didn't want to delay the process. So as of right now, middle of June, Minocqua Golf Course will not have irrigation water. So I'm here to try and resolve that. To get a irrigation permit from the DNR, you have to have riparian rights, which you have to have property adjacent to the river to get to have riparian rights or lease them from a property owner. And so It's all based off the acreage too. They give you, I think it's like a half an acre foot per acre to calculate your appropriation permit. Um, so this is just a definition I pulled off of Google of what riparian rights are. All I'd be looking for is access to the county's riparian rights to successfully get a DNR appropriation permit for. I believe it's later in the presentation, but we would get about 8.5 million gallon appropriation permit off of the 50 acres that is adjacent to the river. And the reason we selected the reason I'm coming to you guys is there's a 4-inch line that runs from American Crystal already. There's close power to where I would have to stick a pump on the county property, and it makes the most sense. It's the most feasible, I guess, is the best way I can put it for us. I we if we irrigate with city water, it's about $60,000 worth of water a year, and it makes our golf course a lot less feasible to keep operating. So with the DNR permit, the permit annually is about $500, and then the lease with you guys, we got the water for free from American Crystal. It was good for both parties. They had to get rid of the water, and we needed the water. So, anyways, this is the proposed. So the reason and I'm not stuck on this location. If anybody, the reason I selected that, if you look at the lay of the land there, that is high ground. There's power right there. So we could hopefully stick a pump and during high water situations not have to worry about it flooding and uh and having to remove it. But if Rich or somebody in your department decides it's not a good spot for it, I'll put the pump wherever you guys want it. And if we have to remove it during high water, we can do so. So my plan there would be to bore the yellow line on that map is where our existing 4-inch main already is. So I would have to, you guys are the first step in the process. I need to get a riparian lease, and then I can apply for a DNR irrigation permit. And then once that permit is successfully received, then I have to go to MnDOT and get a permit to bore underneath the highway. But MnDOT does. I've already talked to MnDOT. They don't have a problem. It shouldn't be a problem getting that permit. And with the DNR conversations I've had with the DNR, it's about a 2-month process, but they think I'll be able to successfully get a river irrigation permit if I can get this lease from you guys. So
You're gonna pump with a 4-inch from the river then?
Yep. So I've calculated we need about a 10 to 15 horse pump to pump to that 4-inch line, and then the line running back to Crystal would be abandoned. So I would do all that work myself. I don't know if you guys know, I've worked for the city of Crookston for 20 years in the water department. So I would hire a company to bore underneath the highway, but I would run the water line and do all that. So luckily for me, I had a lot of the right contacts to get information on this. I've dealt with the DNR for the city's well fields, and it's kind of all the same contacts I needed. I have a lot of good relationships with all these people. So, all I'm looking for is a pipe easement to get from the river to our existing pipe in the MnDOT right away, and then riparian lease on the water.
Do you have a proposed second site just in case Rich has something else or?
I will put it anywhere on your property that you want it. It's really it's not any when I was talking to Rich a little bit, if me being on the city side, I understand that what's in it for the county for this. So, if we need to move the pump station over to the boat landing, we could put a connection for your tankers to fill. Let's say you guys are watering your roads or watering grass. We could put a hose bib on it. You guys could fill your tankers and not have to buy city water or whatever you guys currently do. So I guess if that's what we're gonna do, I would propose that we move that pump station over closer to the either either I could run a water line over there so that the pump could stay on high ground and we didn't have to worry about it flooding, or I could move the pump station over to the boat landing. I will, you know, I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I will do whatever it makes the most sense for you guys too. And I want to be a good partner in this agreement if we can come to terms on an agreement here, and I'm open to any suggestions.
Yeah, so Rich is actually listening. He's in the airplane, and he just commented that, he recommends it, but he said, the property isn't usable because it's old highway right away. So
You had mentioned, how many gallons did you get from,
We could pump up to 10 million from American Crystal.
and the permit process through the, state is, on this property would allow you how many?
8.2 million is on this slide, so it's 163,000 gallons per acre. So 8.2 million gallons off this 50 acres, and that's probably there's thresholds from the DNR on what can be pumped during dry conditions anyways. So our average is probably 7 to 9, and if we get into needing more than 8.2, they're probably going to shut our irrigation permit off anyways.
Oh, I see.
Go back to the first map you showed. I'm just wondering, okay, because it's county property, or is it private property on that?
This is the red area is all county property there.
Yep, no, I'm talking to the south and east, on the behind the jail, and
Oh,
is that county property there also?
it is, yeah.
I'm just spitballing when I say this. Is it possible for your pump station to be there and encompass that 50 acres like you want to? And we grant an easement for that, what is it, 185? I can't see the numbers.
Right, but his pipe where's your pipe that you want to connect to?
On the south side of the bridge, it's on the west side of the road. I would,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I mean, we have to bore underneath the road to get to it. Um, my it is the it would be better to have more appropriation. Um, the one thing that I was trying to avoid is that river crossing, because if that river crossing ever fails, it's going to be extremely expensive to repair.
Okay.
So, uh, you know, I I feel comfortable at the 8.2, and I really feel like if we ever get to that point, anyways, it's gonna be a dry summer where we're gonna have to switch to city water, anyways. Um, but if that's where you want the pump, I'm like I said, I'll put the pump where if you guys prefer it over there. That the other thing that might be I was supposed to have a meeting with Otter Tail before this meeting, because there's only single phase power where I'm proposing the pump station, and 10 horse is about all you can get out of single phase power. So not that that's a deal breaker. If we need to, we just put a diesel pump in there, and We only fill our pond once a week, so we can run over, fire up the generator, fill the pump, and then go shut it off. We might be able to get three-phase power over there. So I wouldn't be I'd have to talk to Otter Tail on whether there's three-phase power there. And if the river crossing fails, it fails, and hopefully it never does. But that's the only reason I was trying to stay north too.
And even my comment about if the pump location is where you prefer it, that's fine. I'm just looking at that parcel for the application to get you more water. If
If need
I'd be in favor of giving you the water access on that, whatever it is, 185 parcel, to get you up over that 8.2 million gallons or
Yeah,
whatever.
I honestly didn't look at I should have brought my computer in here, but I don't know how many acres that is, but that would probably get us to like 13 million is my guess. It doesn't matter how much frontage there is, it just has to be touching the river, and then that acreage on that parcel is taken into account. So, I mean, if you guys, we could include it and keep the pump where I proposed or move it over there. And I'll take more water if you guys are willing to
So if
allocate
we
it.
give you access to that, you can include that to your,
Yep.
Yep.
It has to be. I couldn't get a super clear answer from the DNR on how close it had to be to the pumping site. It can't be 10 miles, 20 miles
Yep.
away, but I believe that would be close enough to be included in that.
and how many acres is that?
Which piece are you looking at?
So where the black dirt sits at the pile there. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, is it 176 on there? Is it?
176, yeah.
And that goes all the way over to the sheriff's department. It's probably like 100 acres.
Okay, so here's a couple comments Rich just said now. He said location is fine where it's proposed now. He said behind the jail, the ground is too high. It's easier to pump if it's closer to the water.
Yeah, it would be more head. We'd need probably a larger pump to pump from the higher ground.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the pump location, if he's happy with it there, that's fine. I'm just looking at the additional
Giving you extra
frontage
water.
of water.
Oh, I appreciate it.
access.
Yeah.
Give you that water, giving you that extra land easement. We don't even have to give you the whole works.
No. Yeah. We could just get to that 10 million and
Call it good.
yeah.
Yeah, so okay, here now, Rich's comment to what we're discussing now. He says we can lump it all together and leave it where it's planned, work out details and come back with agreement for approval.
We meet on the 21st, I think, in 2
Right.
weeks, so.
2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's gonna be the end of summer before I get through the DNR and everything anyways. So, I mean, I wanted to get it on your radar, and just try and keep the process moving for my end anyways.
So it actually wouldn't be for this year then, it would be pumping next year?
By the time I need the lease this year to apply for the permit, but I'm probably not going to be able, by the time I get the permit from the DNR, because there's a 30-day public hearing process and input process. And by the time I get everything I need to actually be able to pump water, we're probably going to I might need it in the fall, but if everything went perfect, we would maybe be able to water a little bit this fall with it. But I'm really just trying to get everything in line for the 25 season.
Yeah, the motion that we're looking at is more or less to construct a pump house, run a water line across, and then have County Attorney Whitseth draft the easement, and so that you can work on that and get that taken care of a little later.
Yeah.
I'd move to approve under the motion presented and also potentially add additional acreage to help the gallons.
Whether it be 10 or 20 more acres of 176.
Okay. Yep. I'll figure out what we need to get to that 10
Yeah,
million
so
mark. And
Rich, all we need to do is approve his proposal, and that just will allow to move forward.
Yeah, I agree. All right.
Okay, do we have a second?
Aye.
Paul. Okay, any further discussion?
I appreciate the support, guys. It is
Those
a
in
big
favor?
deal for us.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Well,
Thank you.
we can't have Chuck and Rich with static electricity out on the golf course.
Could be interesting.
Sarah Reese.
Jeez, you're a minute. We are on time.
You are on time. I'm gonna hopefully keep it that way for you. All right.
Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. All right. So I'm here today to talk about our public health emergency preparedness and response coordinator position. What might seem like many moons ago, but just last fall, I visited during our budget meetings about new funding that the legislature allocated last year into the base funding. For the first time ever, public health across Minnesota is receiving emergency preparedness and response funds. Previously to that, our funding had been solely federal in nature. And so our funding that came to the Community Health Board, we could decide how we split that out for the Community Health Board. And so I'm proposing a position today. We didn't have the details that last fall. And so that's why it didn't get included last fall in the budget. But all of those things have been worked out now. We previously had our emergency preparedness and response role embedded in one of our supervisor roles, and that was due to historical nature of that person's training and experience. So that person will be vacating their position via retirement, and so we took that role out of that job description because it's just not applicable in terms of the office support supervisor role. So, what I am requesting and recommending is to fill a public health emergency preparedness and response coordinator position within Polk County Public Health. Its primary focus will be on Polk County, but it will have some plan writing and exercise planning across our community health board because we have a shared services agreement. So we work across our 3 counties where we have expertise. This position, of course, will work very closely with Jody, our emergency manager. He's aware of this position. I had a conversation with him actually just this morning about it. And so they will work very closely as well. So that's also great. My request after lots of mental deliberation and feedback is to request one position, as I mentioned, but for consideration of 2 potential job descriptions. The reason for that is that this is an area of specialty, and the experience in this area is very, very important to me. And the reality is that there is a limited workforce, and so we don't know who's out there with what different technical degree or background, and so want to not be limiting in that way. So my recommendation is to and what I included in the board packet was a job description that includes someone who is a licensed nurse in the state of Minnesota and then someone who is not. And then with the idea that we identify the best possible candidate for this position. So lots of thought and about what is needed and where we're going. And the funding is from our Response Sustainability Grant, which is the state funding, and from our FEP funding, which is our federal funding that passes through the state and comes to us for a plethora of responsibilities. Do you have any questions?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Warren. Any other comments? All those in,
Now, is there any grant money available or program money? for this potential position?
So it is funded through state and federal dollars. I'm not aware of additional grant funding that's available, but it is a statutory requirement that we have emergency preparedness and response. So theoretically, if we didn't have the state and federal funding, we'd be having to identify it locally. So,
Okay.
so technically speaking, it is
It's
a grant.
it's funded.
Currently.
Yes, it is funded. It is funded through state and federal funding.
Thank you.
Yes. It's in the base funding for the state, so that's as reliable as it gets, right?
Yeah, we know how that goes.
Yes, yes.
Anything else? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you. Those are just the job descriptions. Do, 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 do.
Well, they look
Shut your
very
eyes so I don't make
complete.
you blind. All right.
We're dizzy.
Next up, do you want this? Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, I think we have some representatives from the city of Fertile. Come on up.
Impatient people.
Save the best for last, maybe. I can hope. Well, I want to thank the commissioners and our chair board. I'm here on behalf of Lisa Leiden in the city of Fertile. Lisa sends her apologies for not being able to attend this morning. She had a medical emergency. Mayor Wilkins also sends his regrets at not being able to be here. In your packet, there was a letter. We understand from the city that there may be additional ARPA funds that have not been allocated at this point. As you may understand, healthcare facilities are facing a crisis in our state and in our country right now. In 2023, Polk County lost 2 nursing facilities, including Riverview and Pioneer in Erskine. Pioneer also closed their assisted living facility. So with that, we're reaching out, according to our letter. We would like to seek an additional grant funding of up to $500,000 if there are funds available. We realize there are a number of challenges facing facilities. Sarah mentioned in her presentation, staffing is huge. Finding the right qualified staffing is posing more and more of a challenge. Some of the details we wanted to share with you. Fairmeadow Nursing Home is a 42-bed skilled nursing facility. Fairmeadow Assisted Living, which is attached, is a 19-unit facility. It's home to a total of 61 individuals, employer to almost 100 individuals, the most residing in Polk County. Most of them residing in Polk County, I should say. They are the largest single employer within the city of Fertile. And Fairmeadow is also a source of pride in the community due to the reputation for exceptional care and dedicated staff. We have a number of staff who have been there decades, not just weeks, months, or a few years. Approximately 18% of Polk County residents are 65 plus years old. Of the residents of Polk County, approximately 12% are faced with disabilities. So the need for nursing homes is important. Trying to scoot through my notes to keep this brief because I know your guys' time is precious. Since 2020, increased staffing costs have really crippled facilities, and we're seeing changes in not only nursing homes, but hospitals and other care facilities as well. Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements do not keep up with the increased costs. There's a delay in keeping up with those pricing changes. So aside from the tough news, we've had some changes in administration that have led to delays in revenue. Staffing shortages, the cost for a CNA, if we have to hire temp staff to bring in, averages $1,800 to $2,200 per week. With that, the city responded with increasing wages for local staffing in December to try and retain and stay competitive within this market. Regulatory changes continue to drive costs. Costs that went up in 2020 have not returned to normal pre-2020 prices. The facility has been working with a number of grants. They recently applied for a distressed nursing home loan. The state legislature is still currently working on the who, what, when, and where with that grant, with that loan funding. Until the legislature decides who is eligible, they will not be making determinations. The facility has applied for a retention grant, so employees who work 30 hours or more a week are I apologize, that was worded poorly. There's a retention grant where the employees who have had longevity are receiving extra pay during this time. We've worked on streamlining processes or outsourcing where we can to save costs, restructuring staffing duties to reduce staffing needs where possible. Billing practices have been improved to maximize income potential. So with that, we would ask your consideration for some funding with whatever you may have available. Any questions? I have a few different statistics and numbers available, and I can scroll a little bit. A lot of the stuff I shared is in here. And we realize, like I said, no decision may be made today, but we would like you to consider our request.
Okay,
So,
you have another request, or is that someone else?
actually, we have another request, but I brought Craig Engelstead. He is the chairperson of the Agassiz Environmental Learning Center Board. And this request is actually an addition to what we have already requested and been authorized. There was $144,000 authorized for an addition for handicap accessible facilities to the Agassiz Environmental Learning Center. For those who are not familiar with it, it's a piece of property that is owned by the city of Fertile. It is operated by a separate board called the Agassiz Environmental Learning Center, which Craig is a representative of that as well as myself. We do field trips out there. It's used as a meeting space. It's used for family gatherings, family celebrations, as well as school field trips. And over the past number of years, we've noticed an increased need for handicap accessibility. Last year, amongst our school field trips, there were four separate schools who brought children who were in wheelchairs. The nursing homes in the area have used it as a place for getting out and having picnics. Polk County Public Health, 4-H, a number of other county and nonprofit organizations use this facility. So in these planning, and I can scroll through as we have the letter in here, we have gone through 9 different drawings trying to find one that is acceptable. For those who are familiar with ADA compliance, it is a minimum set of guidelines, measurements used to say, this is adaptable, this is the minimum you must meet to be accessible for individuals with disabilities. In working with community partners, trusted professionals in the disability advocacy world, ADA compliance is the bare minimum. It is not necessarily functional. And we don't want to have just a functional space, or we don't want to have just a bare necessity space. We want to have a truly functional, welcoming space. In our initial cost estimate, we estimated a set amount per square foot. In working with the architects that we've had to work with, we have learned that some of those costs have increased significantly. The current architectural estimate is coming in at $188,000. With some of those funds, we've made changes to the plans, like 42-inch doors. They're a little bit wider so that those who are in wheelchairs can get through without crunching in their elbows. We've talked about steel roofing to make it last longer, make it more energy efficient. We've talked about insulation. We've asked for specifics that will make the building the best possible on the lowest possible budget. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, thoughts. Craig, anything to add to this?
It's been a long work in process, like Stacy mentioned there, as far as the many plans. There is an on-site campground, the bathrooms
Mhm.
And with showers are currently open 24/7 for the public to use, and these would still remain to be 24/7.
Yep.
So there is shower facilities and 2 single stall bathrooms to still accommodate those needs of the handicapped and the general public. So it's called, our official name is Agassiz Environmental Learning Center. It's called the Learning Center, the Nature Center, the Fertile Sand Hills. It's about 640 acres, I believe.
Yep.
Altogether, which is very unique landscape. Some things out there that there's no other places in the state of Minnesota that has that, as far as some of the
Right.
nature aspects.
Well, and coming up in the next year or so, we have a number of events planned that are statewide events. I've been working in conjunction with an organization that is based out of the metro. They're planning a bus trip for a group of individuals to come up because some of the features we have out there are so unique that they're not found anywhere else in the state. So that's kind of a fun thing. The site is also used often throughout the summer for the Conservation Corps. DNR has a number of groups who come in and do various studies. And then the University of Minnesota system as a whole brings in individuals to do research projects. Not just on our site, but in the area, but they use our site as the campground place to be, kind of the central location for themselves. So what we're asking on this one is additional funds in it above and beyond the 144 that we initially reached out for a couple years ago. And we're open to any discussion on that.
If you have any further questions or comments, or
We know who to contact, right?
You do.
thank you.
Okay, well, thank you much. We'll take it
you,
under
guys.
consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I believe that concludes all our official business.